What's up, dummies? Today we're about to react to 4 missing people who were found alive on videos. So I've reacted to a ton of videos on my channel about like missing people or YouTubers that went missing and stuff, but every time we react to one of those videos, it's always a sad ending. We always have bad endings, but today we're gonna have a good ending because these are 4 people who were missing that were found alive on video. Let's check this out. This is gonna be insane.
A woman named Malie Perales was driving down the Packer Drive Northeast Road alongside the Rogue River in Belmont, Michigan. She and her 2 roommates were on their way back after a night out, and they were all in a cheerful mood. However, their smiles quickly vanished as they stumbled onto a horrifying scene. At around 2:30 a.m., while driving near the Rogue Hollow Court, one of the passengers spotted a strange figure lurking by the side of the road. This encounter was extremely terrifying, but it also sparked the group's curiosity. And after some deliberation, they decided to turn around, and this is what they then came across.
Oh god.
Stop.
What the? What the?
No. Hell no. What the?
Bro.
Bro.
Bro, what would y'all do?
They saw what looked like a young woman drenched from head to toe as if she had just crawled out of the nearby river. She also looked like she was crying, banging her head on the road and waving for help.
Dude, what would y'all do if you're driving in the middle of the night in a forest and you see somebody who's drenched in water begging you for help? Would you stop or not, bro? Oh my god, dude, that might be like I might think it's like a setup, like someone's trying to set me up, but let's see what happens.
Posted the video of this encounter on TikTok and it instantly went viral, leading people to come up with all sorts of far-fetched theories about ghosts, spirits, etc. However, as wild as the theories got, Malie later posted several videos shutting them down and revealing what really happened. According to her, they kept circling back and driving past the disturbed woman several times after recording the first video to make sure she was okay. While none of them had the nerve to get out of the car and approach her, they did call the cops and waited nearby until help arrived.
Good.
The woman was then taken to a nearby hospital where she was treated for cold exposure. As it turns out, she somehow fell into the Rogue River from the east side and swam across it onto the road.
Late night drive turns super spooky.
She had to have come up out of the water. Yep, there's a dig spot there. So she came up from down there. That's had to have been why she was so wet.
So this girl fell into the river. Apparently she was a missing person. I guess we'll figure out more about her and who she is.
What was going on?
After regaining some composure, she also revealed that the woman was from Kalamazoo, a town that's over 60 miles from where she was found.
The hell?
However, she had no recollection of how she got to Belmont and fell in a river so far away from home.
Dude, this girl had no memory.
She was most likely experiencing a severe mental break, where her memory gap was caused by a rare condition known as fugue state, something we covered in our previous video on the most disturbing mental disorders.
What?
For those who don't know, a fugue state is a rare condition where a person suddenly loses their memory and starts acting like someone else. They might wander off, travel long distances, or do things completely out of character without realizing anything is wrong. It's usually triggered by extreme stress or trauma, and once it's over, the person often has no memory of what happened.
This is creepy.
And while this condition is quite rare, all the signs suggest that's exactly what happened to this mysterious woman from Kalamazoo, especially since the authorities later found her car parked behind a random house just east of the river. She likely drove to that neighborhood on her own, but had zero memory of doing so, which fits perfectly with the known symptoms of fugue state.
This girl was in like a fugue state, whatever he's saying. So she drove an hour to a different town, parked in a random person's driveway, then walked to this river and jumped in. What? And she didn't even know what she was doing.
Malie also shared her video in a local Facebook group, hoping to find more answers about what went down. Unfortunately, the responses she received weren't as helpful as she'd hoped, since most people in the neighborhood believed the screaming and noises were just the sounds of a wild animal, like a coyote. But there were a few responses that deepened the mystery. Like this one person who remembered meeting her earlier that same night, stating, "Saw this person between Van Dam and Packer Woods around 10:15 p.m. Friday. Asked her if she needed help, to which she responded no." Another person also mentioned hearing about a woman walking into his neighbor's house, yelling hello 3 times and then leaving on her own. And while this added further evidence supporting the fugue state theory, these responses still left a key question unanswered. Who was she? Malie tried to contact both the police and the hospital for answers, but despite her insistence, both the police officers and the hospital staff refused to reveal her real name. That said, we still have enough information to make an educated guess. Based on everything I could uncover, the mysterious woman in this unsettling video was most likely Mei Zhou. She was a 28-year-old Chinese woman who went missing from Kalamazoo on May 6, 2021. Before her disappearance, she told her friends that she felt like she was being followed by a stalker she met online. Unfortunately, these are the only details about her case that were made public. I couldn't find any clear answers on whether the stalker was real or if she was just overwhelmed by paranoia. In either case, the constant fear and stress of feeling watched likely drove her to slip into some variation of the fugue state we discussed earlier. Hopefully, she received the mental help she desperately needed and is now in a better mental state than she once was.
Wow, bro, that's insane. Here's
In
the next
June
one.
of 2024, streamer Lacey and his friend Clicks were doing an IRL live stream in Miami, Florida.
Okay.
The two were simply going around town and having fun. What they didn't realize was that this stream would end up saving someone's life. It happened a few hours into the stream when they sat down at the Starlight Hotel Cafe for lunch. As
Okay.
they waited to order, a guy walked up to their table wearing nothing but neon green shorts. Lacey and Clicks initially assumed he was just another fan eager to talk to his favorite streamers, a pretty typical scenario for popular IRL streamers. But
Yeah.
something about this young man didn't sit right. He was trying to keep a conversation going, but his words were slurred and nothing he said really made sense.
Hey, are you sparring, bro? Are you sparring?
Yo, you good, bro?
Doing what?
The streamers figured he was either drunk or on some kind of drugs.
Yeah,
For
he's-
content, they started poking fun at him a bit before shifting their focus back to their stream. But the guy continued to linger around, acting very odd and saying unintelligible sentences for the next half hour or so before finally leaving them for good. The streamers simply labeled it as an odd interaction from someone under the influence of something or another and continued on with their stream. Lacey later uploaded an edited down version of this stream on his YouTube channel. And that's when he got an email that made him realize the significance of what they had just caught on camera. 2 days after this video went up, Lacey received an email from a man named Trent claiming to be the brother of the guy seen in green shorts. It read, "Hello, my name is Trent Coleman, and my missing little brother from Michigan was on Clicks and Lacey's stream in Miami. He was wearing green shorts and they were making fun of him. He is not on drugs, he is schizophrenic, and he is 17 years old. If someone can contact me about this, I would be so thankful. He has been missing for 3 months, and his case was
What?
put on homicide in Michigan."
So this kid that was in their stream, I think they were in like Miami. This kid has been missing for 3 months and they thought that he got killed in Michigan. The police said that somebody killed him in Michigan because they haven't found him in 3 months, but he's in Miami in their stream just tweaking.
In most cases, emails like these are just trolls trying to mess with creators. However, after some research, Lacey discovered that Trent was actually telling the truth and posted this new development on Twitter stating, "3 months ago, a 17-year-old kid went missing and was put on homicide. Yesterday on stream, he came up to me and Clicks, and now his family knows he is alive and in Miami. I wasn't sure if I should make this public, but I'm hoping somehow this helps him be found for his family." In a reply to his tweet, Lacey also attached an article that provided additional details about the case. Apparently, the teenager's name was Troy Coleman, and he had been missing from his home in Michigan since May of 2024.
That's crazy.
According to the article, Troy was last seen in Mount Morris Township around 9:30 a.m. on May 17th. In the 3 months since his disappearance, he had somehow traveled from Michigan all the way to Miami with no
How?
medication, no money, and no clear explanation of how he got there. This was extremely concerning considering Troy's lack of vital medication for his schizophrenia was known to cause serious hallucinations. His sudden reappearance only deepened the mystery. With no leads and no logical explanation, Michigan police were left so baffled that they even began investigating his case as a potential homicide. So, the fact that Troy randomly appeared on Lacey and Clicks' stream and his brother just so happened to be watching that stream was nothing short of a miracle.
That's crazy, dude. Imagine your brother went missing and you're like, what the hell? Like, my brother's missing. And then it's been 3 months and you're probably like, okay, somebody definitely killed my brother. Like, I'll never see him again, bro. And you're just watching a stream from your favorite streamer and you see your missing brother in Miami, even though you live in Michigan. He has no money, no food, no anything. How has he been surviving for 3 months? And how is he in Miami? I hope we get these details.
How the coincidences keep piling up, and what happened next made the whole situation even stranger. While Troy was still on stream, another young fan approached the two streamers and tried to strike up a conversation. However, before he could even introduce himself, Troy interrupted them again and started saying something to the younger fan. He was still talking incoherently, which made the streamers even more uncomfortable and confused about his intentions. During this time, he also gave the younger fan the styrofoam cup he was holding. The young boy quickly took a sip of whatever was in the cup and walked away. Lacey's cameraman noticed the exchange and immediately pointed it out to the streamer. By now, they were convinced that Troy was on drugs, and that raised a serious concern. Had he just given the kid something laced? Not wanting to ignore it, Lacey decided to confront Troy, asking him directly what was in the cup. But to their surprise, Troy's answer was a lot more coherent than expected. He simply stated that it was just a soft drink from Beacon Hotel.
What was in the drink?
Kidding.
What was in that drink?
In the drink?
Yeah. You gave it to him.
It was Coke from Beacon Hotel.
Like Coca-Cola? Making sure. You gave it to the kid.
I gave it to a kid.
This coincidental interaction gave authorities the crucial lead they needed. Troy was, in fact, staying at the very hotel he had mentioned. From there, it didn't take long for investigators to track down Troy and reunite him with his family, who were overjoyed to have him back. In a later interview with People.com, Troy's father, Weston Coleman, shared even more heartbreaking details of what Troy went through. According to him, Troy actually wanted to visit Florida to find and meet celebrities. He did his research online and saved up as much money as he could before setting off. Troy made it to Atlanta by bus, but that's where things took a turn for the worst. During his stay in Atlanta, he was robbed of everything he had. Left with nothing, he traveled the rest of the way to Miami completely broke. Despite the hardship, his family was ultimately glad that he was still alive and well, with his father stating, "I'm just glad he's alive at this point and now can't believe we found him. We all feel a lot better and we thank everybody." From what I can find, Troy's been living with his family in Michigan ever since and has managed to stay out of any more trouble.
Dude, that is one of the craziest stories I've ever heard. I'm not gonna lie. That is insane. He wanted to go to Florida, so he went on a trip. He didn't tell his family. Then when he got to Atlanta, he got robbed, so he didn't even have a phone or anything. And they robbed him of his medicine too. Like he brought his whole backpack with a bunch of medicine and stuff because he has schizophrenia. Then when they robbed him, they took his backpack, which had his medicine. And then because he wasn't taking his medicine, he was like disoriented, so he didn't go to the store. Like if you got robbed, you could easily go to the cops or go and like, you know, call somebody on a payphone or ask someone to use their phone. Hey dad, can you come get me? But this guy got his medicine stolen too. So then he was like, oh my God, he didn't even know what was going on. That's crazy, bro. Shout out to the streamers.
In 2013, 40-year-old James DiMaggio invited family friend Christina Anderson and her two kids, 8-year-old Ethan and 16-year-old Hannah, over to his home in Boulevard, California.
Okay.
He claimed it was just a farewell visit before moving to Texas. And this wasn't anything unusual. James had been a close friend with both Christina and her husband Brett for quite some time and was like an uncle to the kids. And since Brett was away for a 3-month job in Tennessee, James helped the family regularly with things like driving Hannah to and from her gymnastics class. However, what seemed like an innocent invitation quickly turned into a horrifying nightmare. It started on August 4 when the children's grandparents called the police and reported the family as missing after not hearing from Christina all day. They also informed the police about the family's plan to visit James. However, when investigators reached James's home, it was already engulfed in flames. Firefighters rushed to the scene and suppressed the fire. Unfortunately, they were too late. Inside the burnt house, they discovered the bodies of Christina Anderson, her son Ethan, and even the family dog. And while this could have been nothing more than a tragic accident, the reality was far more cruel. Later autopsy discovered severe injuries on Christina. These included signs of plastic cable ties around her ankle and arms, duct tape marks around her neck and mouth, multiple fractures in her right arm and both legs, a cut on her neck, and signs of at least 12 heavy strikes to the head. Her 8-year-old son Ethan also had multiple fractures throughout his body. However, despite the horrific scene, there were no signs of James or Hannah anywhere near the house. It didn't take long for investigators to connect the dots and realize that James DiMaggio was the mastermind behind this horrific crime. It also became clear that he had orchestrated the murders not just out of violence, but with the intent to kidnap Hannah. His actions were calculated and driven by some twisted obsession as he took her from everything she had in her life. After learning about this, the police quickly issued a statewide Amber Alert in hopes of getting any information regarding James and missing Hannah's whereabouts. In the meantime, investigators also discovered security footage of James passing through the Border Patrol checkpoint in Pine Valley at around 10 p.m. This also prompted them to launch a massive manhunt spanning the entire Pacific coast from British Columbia to Baja, California. However, despite the massive effort and the hundreds of man-hours put into the search, the manhunt turned up empty. Every lead seemed to result in a dead end, and the odds of successfully rescuing Hannah started to dwindle with every passing day. Things looked bleak. That is until 3 days later when 2 horseback riders spotted a man and a girl while trekking through the remote wilderness of Cascade, Idaho. They had seen the broadcast of Hannah's disappearance on TV and instantly recognized the young girl and her captor. They reported the sighting to authorities, who instantly began investigating the area, and soon after they found James's car with its plates removed to avoid detection. However, it still took them 3 more days to track down the campsite James was hiding in. The FBI had set up a jet with a sophisticated long-range camera recording from thousands of feet above, which is what you're seeing now.
Wow.
This footage confirmed they had found the missing Hannah. On the 10th of August, the FBI took it upon itself to rescue Hannah and mobilized a tactical team for the mission. They kept eyes on James for some time, looking for the right moment to attack. However, he was sticking close to Hannah, which made it near impossible for the rescue team to make their move. Fortunately, after some time, James moved away to gather some firewood. And while he was completely oblivious, Hannah actually spotted a rescue helicopter and started waving for help.
That's awesome.
This was the perfect opportunity, and the FBI didn't let it go to waste. They quickly moved in and carried Hannah to safety. After noticing the rescue mission, James took out one of the guns he had with him and fired at an officer. The rescue team then returned fire, resulting in him getting shot 6 times in the head, arms, and upper torso. Hannah was finally safe. And while this was one of the most terrifying experiences a teenage girl can have, Hannah's managed to completely bounce back. She is now 27 years old and is happily living with her husband and 1-year-old son in Vancouver, Canada.
That's sick. That's actually fire. Dude, so she got captured. He took her to the woods. What a weirdo. I wonder if I'm not even going to say that, but what if he did weird stuff, bro? Oh, man.
On the 27th of May, 2013, at around 4 p.m., 73-year-old Robert McDonough disappeared from his home in Portland, Maine. Now, an elderly person going missing is extremely stressful on its own. However, what made Robert's situation even more dire was the fact that he was also suffering from dementia. For those who don't know, dementia is a mental condition which makes it difficult to remember things, think clearly, or even recognize familiar faces. People with dementia can forget everything from their own names to the faces of loved ones, leaving them confused about where they are or how they got there. This can also extend to forgetting where they live. For someone with dementia, wandering outside can quickly turn from a harmless mistake to a life-threatening situation. A person with memory loss isn't just lost in terms of direction, they're lost in terms of identity and awareness. They forget how to care for themselves, how to recognize danger, and how to make decisions in an increasingly hostile world. These conditions could prove to be lethal for a healthy young adult, and the danger is increased tenfold for a frail elderly man trying to navigate a world that no longer makes sense to him. He could have easily wandered into traffic or tripped and fallen in a remote area, and no one would have known. Put simply, Robert's life was in extreme danger. This is also why the authorities moved quickly after receiving the missing report and began searching every corner of the city within hours of his disappearance.
Search and rescue teams spent more than 14 hours searching an area of Leamington after 73-year-old Robert McDonough, who has dementia, disappeared Monday afternoon. Around 6 a.m., search teams were briefed and started to intensify their effort.
It was going into the second operational period, which means we're starting to ramp up, using a lot of GPS technology. Well, again, we'd have our pilots, we'd have ATVs, canines.
However, they were having a hard time figuring out where Robert could have gone. When someone with dementia goes missing, searching for them is not like searching for someone who's just wandered off.
True.
In most cases, they don't even realize they're lost at all. They might walk aimlessly or even retrace the same steps without ever reaching familiar ground. Their confusion can send them in any direction, far from where they should be.
Right.
But then, about 14 hours into the search, something happened that no one saw coming. On May 28 at 6:30 a.m., a reporter from Portland's local network was recording a section about the disappearance of Robert on the street, when, out of nowhere, an old man walked into the frame.
It's him. He doesn't even realize that he's missing.
At first, the reporter brushed him off as just another bystander. But after a few moments, he suddenly realized who the elderly man was. This was Robert McDonough, or Bob as he went by, the man everyone was looking for.
Anybody give a phone call? Calling the warden service there at the department. This is Bob. This is you. I can identify him as Bob McDonough.
I think so. It's Bob McDonough. Yeah. He looks a lot like a guy.
Watch yourself. Watch yourself.
Yeah. That's Bob McDonough.
Fortunately, he was completely unharmed, despite being out in the cold all night. Upon realizing his identity, the news crew immediately contacted the authorities.
What the hell was he doing?
And it wasn't long before Robert was reunited with his family. But here's the thing. Robert returning like this was nothing more than a stroke of good luck. While his story had a somewhat happy ending, it could have just as easily turned into an irreparable loss.
Dude, that is so weird. They're like making a TV news story like, yeah, this old guy has been lost for 12 hours in the cold. Winter, like, where is he? And then he's just walking down the street behind him. He doesn't even know. He's just like, hey. Dude, he didn't even know he was... That is sick. What's up, dummies? This video says 4 disturbing missing child cases. We're about to watch some of the scariest kids that have went missing. Like, these are gonna be crazy-ass stories. Lock in. Try not to get scared. If you need some pull-ups, go put them on. I don't care. I'm not gonna judge. Let's see 4 kids that went missing.
On the 2nd of October 1999, at around 11:30 in the morning, 2 men came across a very young boy while fishing at a campsite on the Big South Trail, which is a part of the Arapahoe and Roosevelt National Forest in Colorado. And while running into a lone child in the middle of nowhere is cause for concern, the 2 fishermen saw a group of hikers about 80 to 90 feet ahead. They figured that the child was a part of that group since after a brief conversation, the child ran off toward the group they saw. This child was 3-year-old Jared Adidero.
3-year-old? Okay, wait. If you're like in the woods and you see a 3-year-old, that's a problem. I thought he saw like an 8-year-old. Okay, sometimes 8-year-olds go in the forest and whatever. But like a 3-year-old kid that looks like this, he looks so damn cute, bro.
And this was the last time anyone would ever see him again. To understand how a 3-year-old even ended up in that situation, we have to take a step back and examine the life of his father, Alan Adidero.
Okay.
Alan was a divorced, single father who was taking care of his 2 children, the 3-year-old son Jared and a 6-year-old daughter Jocelyn.
Okay.
Earlier that year, Alan had become deeply involved with a local religious organization known as the Christian Singles Network Group. By October, he was hosting 11 members of this group along with his 2 children at a resort he co-owned with his brother. On the day of the incident, the kids wanted to go on a trip to see a fish hatchery with the group. Alan was a bit reluctant at first to let them go, but ultimately caved in when members of the group assured him that they'd only visit the hatchery and come right back with the kids.
Okay.
However, for reasons that remain unclear, unbeknownst to Alan, the planned visit unexpectedly transformed into a 15-mile hike along the Big South Trail, commencing at around 10 a.m.
What the fuck, bro? So they said, "Oh, let us take your kids on a little trip. We're gonna go to a hatchery and look at some eggs and stuff like that." And he was like, fine." He ends up letting them take his kid to the hatchery to see some cool stuff, and they take a 15-mile hike. I think he said 15. 15 miles is insane. Y'all know, bro, I've done hikes before. I've done like a 3-mile hike, and that thing had me like huffing and puffing. And I'm pretty, like, I'm in shape. I'm not fat, you see? Like, I don't have a big belly, bro. And that 3 miles had me huffing and puffing. Imagine 5 times that for 15 miles. Come on, bro.
Taking 2 young kids on a lengthy hike without their father's permission, this was mistake number 1.
Yeah, come on, bro.
The second, and arguably the worst...
Also, I've been on hella hikes before, and I would not want a 3-year-old kid yapping and bapping and pooping and peeing his pants right next.
The mistake the group made was that no one took explicit responsibility for the kids. Everyone just assumed that someone else was looking after Jared and Jocelyn, when in reality no one was.
Are you kidding me?
To make matters worse, the hikers had split into 2 groups, those walking faster and those lagging behind. This separation made it nearly impossible to keep track of the kids' whereabouts.
Bro.
About an hour and a half into the hike, Jared reportedly interacted with 2 fishermen before running off towards a group of hikers. Now, this is where things get a bit murky. From what I can gather, it's unclear whether he was somewhere between the 2 hiking groups or if he had already passed them entirely. The hikers seen by the fishermen might not have even been a part of the same group.
Right.
Sadly, this was the point where Jared vanished. However, it wasn't until 12:15 p.m. that the Christian group realized that they hadn't seen him for over an hour. Panic set in, and some members of the group rushed back to the resort to inform Alan. He wasted no time, immediately driving frantically to the trail while beating his chest and saying, quote, "They lost my baby, they lost my baby." In the meantime, his resort manager filed a missing person report and got the rangers involved in the search.
Wow.
Since this was a fairly active hiking trail, the rangers in the area had plenty of experience finding missing people.
I mean,
so
yeah.
much so that the sheriff at the time stated, "Absolutely, I thought we would find him. Yes, it was a child, but my thought was we should be able to get in there with our people and do what we do and what we have done hundreds of times, find the person. It might take a few hours to find the child crying or hiding someplace nearby, but we would be done before midnight."
Don't tell me he was
even
never
instructed
found.
his subordinates to wake him up when they found Jared, but the news never came. After almost a full day of searching, Jared remained missing and the hopes of finding him alive began to wane. Things went from bad to worse when the helicopter that was searching for Jared stalled 100 feet in the air and crashed, injuring all 5 of its passengers.
Are you serious?
By October 7th, over 200 professional searchers, a dozen dog teams, professional trackers, a dive team, and a plane were doing everything they could to locate Jared.
They had the whole state out there looking for him. Please tell me they found him, bro. What could this kid be doing?
Or at least find some clue that could answer his mysterious disappearance. Tragically, after 5 grueling days with no leads, the search for Jared came to a heartbreaking halt on the 8th of October. It became a massive story in the media and even led to the Colorado governor signing the Amber Alert plan into law. Jared's case, however, remained completely cold. That is, until June 4, 2003, when 2 hikers named Gary Watts and Rob Osborne found some tattered clothes and a sneaker about 500 feet above Jared's last known location. The pair already knew about his disappearance, so they instantly made the connection and contacted the authorities.
They found pieces of his clothing 500 feet higher than when he was last seen, which means this kid was climbing up a mountain? What the hell was he trying to do?
What followed was a more thorough search of the area. And 10 days later, searchers made a grim discovery, a molar and a part of a human skull. DNA tests confirmed what Jared's family feared.
Damn.
These remains were his.
Damn.
They also confirmed that the clothing belonged to him, the
Damn.
same clothes Jared wore on the day he disappeared.
Damn, bro, that's a fresh outfit, bro.
After nearly 4 years of his disappearance,
Look at
Jared's
that.
family finally had some closure.
He was found 4 years later, bro.
But even with these new discoveries, the question remains, what really happened to Jared? The most straightforward explanation is that he wandered off in the mountains, got lost, and eventually succumbed to hypothermia. But there's a problem with that theory. The spot where his clothes and remains were found is nearly inaccessible. It's extremely steep and rocky terrain that would be challenging for an adult to navigate, let alone a 3-year-old child. The most plausible theory is that he was attacked by a cougar. These animals are native to the area, and while they rarely attack humans, a small child could easily become a target. During the investigation, some of the hikers in the 11-member group also reported hearing a distant scream during that time, including Jared's sister Jocelyn. So, if the cougar theory is true, it would explain both the scream and how Jared's remains got so far from his last known position.
Oh, okay, so maybe like a cougar or a jaguar or a black panther or something took his ass. Took him up to,
while it is pretty convincing, there are some inconsistencies in the animal attack premise that I find difficult to justify. For starters, researchers did not find any blood or cougar remains like hair on Jared's clothes.
Oh, then there's no way! There's no way a cougar got him. If there was no blood, no cuts, no even hair from the cougar, there's no way!
How can that be possible?
Right.
What's even more puzzling is that Jared's pants were inside out when they were found in the forest. I can't think of any logical way a cougar or any animal for that.
That cougar! But bro, you really think the cougar took him up there and started folding his clothes? Hell no.
Could turn a pair of pants inside out. Not to mention the fact that the pair of sneakers they found were in excellent condition, considering they would have gone through 4 winters in the Colorado mountains. All of this points to a far more disturbing theory, according to which Jared was actually abducted and later killed by another person. And the reason his sneakers were in such good shape was because the kidnapper likely scattered Jared's remains on the mountain years after the incident. I realize this is a horrifying thought, but it's really the only plausible explanation that accounts for all these strange details. Unfortunately, even with all the evidence we have, Jared's case remains as much of a mystery today as it was the day he disappeared. And the truth of what happened to him may never be known.
Rest in peace to him, bro. He seemed like a cool-ass kid. Man. Oh, man.
Paulette Guevara Farah.
On
the 21st of March 2010, the Guevara family returned from a trip to their home in Mexico. That evening...
Mexico, bro. Yep. See, Mexico, stuff be happening in Mexico. I've been there a couple times. I'm lucky to be back.
The parents tucked their 2 daughters into bed, unaware it would be the last time they'd see one of them alive.
What? They tucked their 2 daughters into bed, and they didn't know it would be the last time they'd see one of them alive. Imagine putting your kids to sleep and one of them, you never see him again. What? I gotta hear about this.
The following morning, the family's nanny, Erica, entered 4-year-old Paulette Guevara Farah's room to wake her,
man,
only to
so
find
cute.
the bed empty. She could not find the 4-year-old girl anywhere in her room. She turned everything upside down while searching for Paulette before finally alerting the mother of the kids, Lizette Farah. Lizette quickly informed the authorities, and they started investigating the little girl's disappearance almost immediately. However, this case was unlike anything they had seen before.
Yeah, where'd she
Paulette
go?
had severe physical disabilities, so she couldn't have gone anywhere on her own.
Wait, hold on. This just makes it even creepier, bro. She had a physical disability, which means like she can't walk very fast, or like she wasn't super strong. You know how some kids have like, you know, cerebral palsy? I don't know what the hell that is, but like the things where they can't move very well. So there's no way she could have ran away from home. Plus she's like 4 years old. How's she gonna run away from home? Someone captured her, bro.
But the investigators didn't find any evidence of someone breaking into the house and kidnapping her either.
So there's no evidence of anybody taking her, but there's no way she could have left. Did she just explode?
It was as if she had vanished into thin air.
Literally.
So, after exhausting all of her options, the Attorney General's office quickly put together a poster explaining Paulette's situation and plastered it everywhere in the region.
My God.
Lizette's sister, Arlette, also posted a few pictures on social media. Surprisingly, these social media posts went super viral, turning the disappearance of Paulette into a national headline.
I don't know what that says.
In the evening, Lizette even released a message on television to the potential abductors, asking them to return her daughter. She claimed that they could leave Paulette in a shopping center or some other crowded place and the family would not press any charges against them. Sadly, none of these efforts amounted to anything.
Bro, look at how cute this little girl is, bro. And just to hear that she had physical, disabilities, bro. Imagine, okay, I'm just talking for myself. I bet most of you watching this are young, so you can't relate to what I'm about to say. But, I'm imagining if I had a daughter and she was, physically, handicapped, I would protect my daughter with, my whole heart, especially if she was handicapped, bro. It'd be my life mission to, make sure nobody mess with my daughter because she can't do stuff for herself. So I would take care. Damn, that just makes me mad, bro. This also looks like my sister, how she looked when she was younger. So I kind of feel connected, bro. I love my sister. Oh my God. I really hope this girl's found.
That is until 9 days later, on March 31st, when the little girl's lifeless body was discovered back where it all began, her own room. It was stuck but...
Did I just hear that right? Let me just rewind.
Anything.
What?
That is until 9 days later, on March 31st, when the little girl's lifeless body was discovered back where it all began, her own room.
I don't got anything to say.
Was stuck between the mattress and the foot of the bed.
No.
On the surface, this should have been the end of Paulette's case. However, the inconsistencies surrounding her disappearance were too significant to ignore.
She was stuck between the bed and the bed frame and nobody noticed? Oh! No, there can't be. Somebody had to set that up.
For starters, how is it possible that no one noticed the little girl's body just feet from where she was supposed to be asleep?
Yeah.
The Gabara house was investigated by professionals who also used highly trained dogs. How could they miss something so obvious in their search?
Yeah, if they had canine dogs sniffing for this girl, they would have been like, she's right here! And plus, that little girl is too young. She probably pooped herself or peed herself. They could have smelled the shit in the room. Okay, I'm just thinking, but you know what I'm saying.
Most importantly, how did no one who visited her room notice the smell? As a comment on
just
YouTube
said
mentions, I found a body once. It was in a basement apartment and we went to do a checkup on her due to a smell complaint. Flies were everywhere and they were huge. The smell was thick and it stuck to everything. It was a hot and humid summer. She had been dead for 3 days. There is no way that Paulette was in that room for 9 days and no one noticed.
Yo, you gotta investigate the parents for real. Cause this dude just said he found a body before. It was only 3 days and it smells so bad. But in this story, the little girl Paulette was only in the room for 9 whole days and nobody noticed. Yeah, right.
The smell of death literally gets everywhere. Now, if the room was immediately taped off after Paulette's disappearance, all of this could have been potentially explained as nothing more than incompetence by the investigators.
There's no way.
But in reality, the room had many visitors in the days after the incident, including guests who slept in that same bed for multiple nights.
What? So you're telling me people came over? Okay, I kind of understand it. People are like, oh, I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry for your loss. People came over to help the people and then they slept in the little girl's bed. There's no way that little girl was actually right there the whole time. There's no way you go sleep on a bed and there's a dead person right next.
Lizette even gave an interview sitting on top of the bed where Paulette's body was later found. How did she not notice? The only logical explanation for all of these questions is that Paulette's body wasn't under the mattress during the initial searches. Instead, it was placed there later by someone, possibly one or both of her parents.
Yup!
According to the official coroner
Low key! Earlier, I peeped something. Hold on. Earlier, when I saw her mom in the TV,
in a shopping center or some other.
This kind of caught me off guard.
In the evening, Lizette even released a message on television.
I don't know. She's blinking a little hard and stuff. Like, I don't know. It caught me off guard. I think it's the parents.
According to the official coroner report, Paulette moved onto the bed on her own and fell headfirst into the gap between the mattress and the frame. There, she asphyxiated and passed away before her nanny, Erica, came looking for her in the morning.
I mean, it kind of makes sense because, like, they said that she was physically disabled, so, like, she could have fell into, like, her bed and then, like, and, like, nobody could hear her because, like, maybe her face was in the thing and she can't move. That's so sad. But I think it's the parents, bro. I hope they found that the parents...
But the evidence contradicting this official statement is a bit overwhelming. For instance, when the rescuers found Paulette, she was wearing dark trousers with a pink giraffe pattern. However, Lizette clearly showed the same trousers just days earlier while showing Paulette's belongings during an interview.
Yep. This is... Nope. This is... Yeah. This is... Nah. This is... She's literally holding the same... So this little girl was found wearing these pants, but her mom, a couple of days before, was folding these pants. No, that... I hate... How can you have children and do that? It's just making me mad, bro. I'm about to start raging right now. I need to chill. I need to chill.
What's even more concerning is that during the official video where the authorities found the body, the investigators also uncovered multiple bloodstains hidden in the sheets, some of which were the size of a soccer ball. At one point during the video, one of the investigators even remarks that they, referring to the parents, were beating up the kid. Despite this, the official report completely ruled out physical abuse and mysteriously made no mention of the bloodstains.
How did the official report not even mention blood? If somebody dies, you have to mention the blood. Come on.
When all this came out, it caused great outrage in Mexico, leading to Alberto Bazbaz resigning from his position as Attorney General of the state of Mexico. From what I've read on this incident, everything about this case suggests a cover-up by the authorities. It's possible one or both of the parents accidentally killed Paulette while attacking her and came up with an elaborate scheme to hide their crime while also farming media attention. And for this to work, someone high up must have been in on the scheme.
Yeah.
Of course, all of this is merely conjecture on my part, as there's no evidence to prove any wrongdoing by either of the parents.
No way.
Unfortunately, we'll likely never learn what happened to poor Paulette on that night. Unless, of course, someone with insider knowledge decides to come forward. Though, after 14 years, that seems increasingly unlikely.
That's just so, like, they obviously did it. The parents obviously...
Said, if the parents were the ones who caused this tragedy, they wouldn't be the first, because something very similar happened in this next case.
Another case that's similar to the... Oh my god,
Lucy Meadows.
What's wrong with parents,
On July 25th, 1996, Jan Meadows visited the Rivergate Mall in Goodlettsville, Tennessee to sell some crafts at a flea market.
Okay.
After parking her car, she opened the back door to let her 3-year-old daughter Lucy out of the car. She then went to the passenger side of the car to retrieve some crafts she was going to sell. But when she came back around to the other side, her daughter was gone.
Nope.
She immediately contacted mall security and they conducted a thorough search of both the mall and the area surrounding it, but Lucy was nowhere to be found.
What?
Over several weeks following the incident, police dedicated hundreds of hours, interviewing 100 witnesses and relatives, following up on tips, speaking with parents of children resembling Lucy, and reviewing surveillance footage from the parking lot. Though the surveillance video was too distant to reveal any clues, it captured Jan Meadows wandering the lot, seemingly looking for someone. However, even after all this effort, they didn't find a single clue that could lead to Lucy's current whereabouts.
So you're telling me this girl pulled up to the mall with her daughter. She opens the door for her daughter. Then she goes back around to the other side of the car to get something out of the back seat. Then when she goes to talk to her daughter's gone. Like, in the span of 20 seconds? Yeah, right.
But things were about to get much more disturbing when police started investigating Jan.
Yeah, investigate Jan.
For some context, Jan was a Korean immigrant who had separated from her husband Tom and was living with another Korean woman, Hyeon S. Dai, also known as Tammy. And
that girl's name is Hyeon S. Dai, but she's known as Tammy. That's like my name being DJ, but people call me Bob. What the fuck?
In her original statement,
This is
Jan
serious.
claimed that she had only looked away for a few seconds, and that was all it took for Lucy to disappear.
She said she opened the door and walked around to the trunk, and then the daughter disappeared.
Yeah, right.
But after a couple of weeks, she changed her story and said that she might have been busy for 10 to 15 minutes.
She's a liar. She's a liar. She's a liar. Put that girl in jail.
This is a massive difference.
That is huge.
As the lead investigator at the time pointed out, if they had known the time frame for the disappearance was 10 to 15 minutes instead of under a minute, they would have searched more extensively from the start. This sudden change in story also put Jan as a prime suspect in Lucy's disappearance.
She better go to jail
They
for
put
life.
Jan under 2 polygraph tests, and she failed both of them.
They did 2 lie detector tests and she failed both. Send this girl to jail.
After which, she became reluctant to talk with the investigators. During this time, a neighbor also reported seeing the 3-year-old Lucy wandering outside early one March morning, not dressed for the weather and crying. Police also questioned her housemate Tammy, whose statement didn't fully align with Jan's story, making the whole situation even more suspicious. Police and the FBI then carried out an extensive search of the Meadows house,
search
farm,
the house.
and the surrounding area.
Search it all.
However, they didn't find any evidence against Jan or Tammy, and the case was left wide open with no leads for the next 18 years.
Bro, look at this. This is what she looked like. This is what she could look like. She'd be 27.
But then in November of 2004, a witness came forward. He claimed he
8
saw
years
Lucy lying
later?
on the floor at home wrapped in a blanket and looking like she could have been dead a day before her supposed disappearance. And while the police never released the name of this witness, I believe it was Daniel, Tammy's son, who would have been 11 years old at the time of the incident. If we take his testimony as truth, many of the inconsistencies in Lucy's case began unraveling. Lucy was likely already dead before her alleged disappearance on July 25th. Jan disposed of her body somewhere and then made up this abduction story to cleverly mask the truth. As for who killed Lucy, it could be Jan, it could be Tammy, or both.
Come on,
And the cause of
bro.
her death could range from extreme neglect to overwhelming abuse.
Are you telling me
We have no way
they
of
don't
knowing.
know?
And if Jan and Tammy have managed to hide the truth for over 28 years, it's
Are you
unlikely to
telling-
confess anytime soon.
Wow.
That said, the case is still open at the Goodlettsville Police Department. Who knows? Maybe we'll see another witness come forward sometime in the future.
Man, really, I want to be able to find these things, bro. I want to be like, I want to go to this city and go like to the woods or whatever, or like water and dive and look for her bones, bro, because I know her mom killed her, bro. I want to bring justice. Man.
Sabrina Eisenberg.
Sabrina,
come crawl to mommy.
oh my
Come
gosh.
here.
They have
Come here,
videos.
gorgeous.
This is the first video Florida couple Steve and Marlene Eisenberg recorded of their nearly 5-month-old daughter, Sabrina. What they didn't know at the time was that this was also going to be the last.
No.
A day after this video, on the 23rd of November 1997, the couple watched a Disney movie with their 3 kids and tucked them into bed. Marlene later checked up on her daughter around midnight before going to sleep. But when she woke up the next morning, she was greeted with a tremendously frightening sight.
And as I turn around and I look and notice my laundry room door out to my garage is opened. And then as I get closer, I'm looking now out to the street and seeing that my garage door is up. So now I'm just looking straight out to the street.
She immediately rushed to Sabrina's bedroom, which was the closest to the garage. Unfortunately, it was already too late.
I ran into the first bedroom, which is Sabrina's room. And I look in the crib and Sabrina's gone. And I scream.
This shook Marlene to her core, which is quite apparent from her disturbing 911 call.
Oh, God.
911. I need to believe my baby's been kidnapped. All right, ma'am, need to calm down. Okay.
Shut up.
Take a deep breath.
Stop saying calm down.
I just got up to wake my son up. My garage door was wide open. My house to my door was wide open, and my baby's gone out of the crib. How old is your baby? My baby is 5 months old.
Oh, my God.
Oh, God, help me.
Upon closer inspection, the couple found out that Sabrina's disappearance was partially their own fault. They had forgotten to close the garage door the night before. As the police got involved, they started a manhunt for the supposed kidnapper, which ended up being the largest manhunt in Florida history at the time.
Whoa.
Investigation of Sabrina's room revealed a mysterious footprint and some unidentified fingerprints near her crib. Now, this should have been the proof that someone had already kidnapped little Sabrina. However, cops were struggling to find any other lead or evidence that could lead them to the perpetrator.
Don't you got a footprint?
Instead of continuing their search outward, they shifted their focus inward, turning their attention to Steve and Marlene.
Okay, it wasn't the parents. I can just tell with this story, it wasn't the parents. You can kind of tell when people are being genuine. At least I feel like I can. That 911 call was real. She was like, ah!
The idea that someone could have walked into a suburban home in the middle of the night, plucked a 5-month-old child out of her crib, obviously raised a lot of suspicion around the Eisenbergs.
I mean, I guess.
It's unusual for a true kidnapping. A lot of times they find out that it's someone the family knew or had knowledge of, and that's part of the leads we're looking at.
Sabrina's parents were now lead suspects in the case of their own missing daughter. They were summoned for extensive interviews on multiple occasions and were also instructed to take polygraph tests. And while Steve passed his tests, the results from Marlene's tests came out inconclusive due to the stress she was under.
Okay, that's plenty of proof to know that they did not do it. The dad passed. She was passing but not passing at the same time, but dude, that's your baby. You just gave birth to that mother trucker 5 months ago. You just held that mother trucker in your belly for
It seemed like the higher-ups had already made up their mind about Steve and Marlene being the perpetrators, and were just trying to find any evidence that could support this conclusion.
It wasn't
At one
them.
point, they even instructed Marlene to appear cold and uncaring on TV, and then used that to question the legitimacy of her feelings for her daughter.
What?
Please bring our baby back to us. She needs her mother and her father, and we all miss her and love her very much, and we need her to come home to us, please.
It backfired because the perception was that they were cold.
Marlene was seen by some as being not authentic, unemotional. Law enforcement seemed to focus in on that display.
It took all the strength that I had to say what I said, and then the minute I was done, I broke down in tears. Okay, hysterical. But of course the cameras were not put on me then.
It got to the point where Steve and Marlene were no longer interested in talking to the police and hired an attorney to act as a shield. However, this only made things worse for the Eisenbergs, because on December 12, 1997, law enforcement successfully received the court's permission to install hidden listening devices in their home. These devices remained active for almost 3 months and captured over 2,600 conversations between the couple. To build a case against Steve and Marlene, claiming that they had found evidence of the couple admitting to Sabrina's murder.
They found
These
evidence?
alleged transcripts included statements like, on December 23, 1997, Marlene said to Steve, "The baby's dead and buried. It was found dead because you did it. The baby's dead. No matter what you say, you just did it." To which Steve responded by saying, "Honey, there was nothing I could do about it. We need to discuss the way that we can beat the charge. I will never break from the family pact and our story, even if the police were to hold me down. We will do what we have to do."
Are they sure he said
On January
that?
21, 1998, Steve said, "I wish I hadn't harmed her. It was the cocaine." And 10 more counts of similar incriminating statements. They also used these as evidence to break into the Eisenbergs' home and arrest the couple. However, when the cops presented this evidence in court, the judge was unable to make out the phrases that were claimed to have been said. The entire case was dismissed, and Steve and Marlene even won a counter lawsuit which made the government pay their attorney fees for the bogus lawsuit. And from my research, I'm fairly confident that Steve and Marlene were likely not the reason behind their daughter's disappearance.
Yeah, I don't think so.
One of their old neighbors also came to their defense in a YouTube comment which read, "I lived about a half-mile from the Eisenbergs at the time of this tragedy.
Okay.
We also had a 6-month-old baby boy at the time. I never so quickly moved my son's crib into our master bedroom for a month or so after that happening. Personally, after hearing so very much about the case, and I actually knew someone who knew the mom, these folks could not have done it. They were genuinely wonderful parents and a decent, normal family. My heart goes out to these people to this day. Our son is 25 now. Sabrina would be 25 years old this June. So sad." Sadly, while the police focused on blaming Steve and Marlene, the real perpetrator continued to slip further from their grasp.
See, that's the thing. They spent so much time thinking that it was the parents, and they allowed the actual person who took the baby to just get away. What's up, dummies? Today we're about to react to disturbing moments that were caught on live stream. Now, I've made a ton of disturbing and scary videos before, but I don't think I've made a video about weird and creepy things that have happened while people are live streaming. This is gonna be insane. Try not to get scared, try not to pee your pants, try not to poop your pants. Let's go, don't get scared, let's go.
It's February 2017, and Brazilian streamer Cohen77 was live on Twitch. He was playing the game Tibia for his fans, when all of a sudden, something absolutely terrifying would take place.
Oh man. Oh man. Oh man. People came through and took his... Damn, people are robbing him, bro. They're taking his headphones.
Two armed men appeared behind Cohen. The streamer lets out a scared gasp, but manages to remain calm before being walked off camera by the two men.
Bro, they freaking took him away. He's losing in his game. He's gonna die. I guess that doesn't matter because he's literally gonna die in real life. Let's see what happens.
Stunned, with many thinking this was a set-up prank. Unfortunately for Cohen, this was totally real. After the two men walked him off camera, they searched his entire house. Before the stream cuts off, one of the two men wearing a blue hoodie can be seen. However, the camera was too low to capture his face.
Bro, that would have been fire if the camera saw his face, because I don't think they knew he was live streaming, but damn, the camera was just out of range to catch. Dude, if only he was shorter, like if he was a midget, that'd be fire. Okay, let's see.
However, the camera was too low to capture his face. After the stream cut out, Cohen's viewers were very scared, thinking the two men might have harmed him or his family. But the streamer later made a post on Facebook, saying that the men did not hurt him or his family, and instead just took their belongings and car. He also expressed his thanks for his viewers' support. It was a horrible and scary situation, but thankfully Cohen and his family made it out okay.
So they robbed him while he was live streaming. And they took all of his stuff and his car, bro. What the hell? Did they get caught? I don't know. Okay.
It was December 2018.
Here's the next one.
A streamer from Kansas City, Missouri named Tron1717 went live. But as soon as his stream began, his viewers were already concerned. He was sitting at the wheel of his car, struggling with his seatbelt and slurring his words. It didn't take long for viewers to realize Tron was clearly intoxicated.
Dude, wow. People were commenting saying, stop driving. Like, don't drive, because this guy is under the influence of... Oh my God, he's live streaming him driving. Bro, that is literally the best way to get caught and go to jail, by live streaming you driving on the... Okay, let's see what happens.
Began begging him not to drive, but Tron ignored all of his viewers' concerns, leading to some viewers calling the police, fearing Tron may put himself or others in danger. For a moment, everything seems okay, until Tron lets out a scared gasp.
Oh my God, he's tweaking. Dude, nobody was hurt, by the way, YouTube.
Cursing just before the stream cuts off. Understandably, his viewers were very concerned, fearing he might be seriously injured or worse. Thankfully, Tron was uninjured in the crash. He had hit a light pole and got a DWI charge. After his own viewers called the police, Tron also...
This dude hit a light pole. Come on, bro. I thought he like crashed into... Dude, you crashed into a pole? Poles don't even move. How do you crash?
Received a temporary ban from Twitch. Thankfully, in this case, no one was hurt, but things could have been so much worse. It was September 2018.
Alright, here's the next one.
One of the most popular Twitch streamers at the time, Dr. Disrespect, was playing Call of Duty, doing so in front of tens of thousands of fans. But as he was playing the first-person shooter, a shooter would target him in real life. As he was playing, he was startled by a series of loud noises, causing him to walk off camera.
Oh, man! I'm just not finishing.
What?
When he came back, he was visibly shaken. He had taken off his costume and was out of character, telling his viewers he had to end the stream.
Ladies and gentlemen, I gotta end the, I've got to end the broadcast right now. Someone shot at our house, broke the upstairs window. This is the second shot. Someone shot yesterday at our house. And someone shot again right now and connected with the house upstairs, right? You're driving by, right? You
Dr. Disrespect was visibly irate, which is understandable as his wife and child were at home. And
Dude, they broke his freaking window. Dude, you know how much money that costs to replace a big window like that? It's more than you think. It's like $15,000, bro. Oh my gosh.
Being injured or worse. Months earlier, Dr. Disrespect had been a victim of swatting, a crime where people make fake police reports,
That's messed up.
causing a SWAT team to raid the victim's house. This shows how dangerous live streaming can really be.
It
Soon
is
after
dangerous.
the shooting, Dr. Disrespect moved house, and has since been very careful to never show off his house, his street, or the neighborhood he lives in.
Dude, that's smart, bro. You don't want people to know where you live because people are weird, bro. People, like this guy mentioned, people do swatting. Basically, when someone's live streaming, fan will be like, oh, somebody's kidnapped at this address, and they'll call the cops, and the FBI will come to their house and the SWAT team while he's freaking live streaming. They lie about it to get him. Like, dude, that's insane, bro.
It was December 2022. A YouTube streamer from Northern Ireland
Oh my
named
God,
Road
I
Saxon
heard about this
07,
before.
whose real name
This is crazy.
Stephen
Listen to
McCullough,
this.
went live, playing the game GTA Vice City. The stream began at 6 p.m., with Stephen staying live for about 6 hours until midnight.
What more could you want for Christmas other than an evening with your old pal Stephen?
The stream was fairly mundane, but while Stephen was streaming, his girlfriend, Natalie McNally, was experiencing something truly horrific. The morning after Stephen's livestream, he woke up to a flood of calls and messages, with friends and family asking him about Natalie. The night before, she had been at her parents' house to watch the World Cup final. The match ended at 6 p.m., and soon after, Natalie had driven back home. She lived alone in Northern Ireland with her 2 cats and a dog. But the next day, no one could get through to Natalie. Her parents had texted her the following morning to check she'd got home safe. But uncharacteristically, Natalie had not replied. She also did not show up for work, and was not answering any phone calls. She was
Weird.
also 15 weeks pregnant
Oh my
with
God, she was
Stephen's
pregnant.
child. So understandably, friends and family were very worried. After learning Natalie was missing, Stephen drove to Natalie's house, which was about 20 minutes away from his. When Stephen arrived at Natalie's home, the door was wide open, and when Stephen walked in, he found Natalie's body. Investigators found the crime took place on December 18th, shortly after Natalie had returned from her parents' home. Because Stephen had found her body, he became a lead suspect, and he was soon arrested. However, he was soon let go, as he had a very strong alibi. According to the post-mortem report, Natalie was killed during the same time Stephen was live streaming from his home.
Right, so he's live streaming and his girlfriend got killed, but watch this, bro. This is a crazy twist.
Stephen could not have been at the crime scene. Investigators also found a text Stephen had sent to Natalie at 5:57 p.m., reading, "Right, I'm off to stream the night away. Wish me luck." To which Natalie replied, "I might have a peek at your live stream later." This was enough to rule Stephen out, but it left police with absolutely no suspects. Stephen did give police the name of one person he suspected, but that lead went nowhere. However, a few days later, police found this surveillance footage, showing a man wearing dark clothing and white shoes heading to Natalie's house. This happened at 8:52 p.m., and 40 minutes later, the same man can be seen walking away. Given the timing, police determined this was Natalie's killer. The man had the same height and build as Stephen, which made him a suspect once again. But police were confused. If Stephen was indeed the killer, how could he be in 2 places at the same time? Police announced a £20,000 reward for information, and continued investigating various leads. Investigators made several arrests, and even found the knife used by the killer. But all of these leads turned out to be dead ends, and they still had no idea who the killer truly was. That was until January 31st, when Stephen McCullough was arrested yet again. Police had figured out that his alibi, the live stream, was totally fake. While it did go out as a live stream, the entire thing had been pre-recorded. Police found the original recording on Stephen's computer, which had been made on the 14th of December, 4 days before the crime.
This dude lied about live streaming. He made a pre-recorded live stream, then set it up to seem like he was streaming, but then he killed his... Oh my God.
Taxi driver had also come forward, who said he picked up someone who looked like Stephen near the scene, picking them up at 9:30 p.m., and then dropping them off at Stephen's house, with the passenger even entering Stephen's home. All this evidence pointed to Stephen being the one behind the killing. The live stream also proved the crime was premeditated. Watching Stephen's live stream back, you can find various ominous clues. The stream was titled The Violent Night Christmas Live Gaming Stream. At the beginning of the live stream, Stephen said he was having technical issues, which he used as an excuse as to why he wouldn't be able to read the live chat.
Wow.
Well, because this streaming software is kind of up the left, it means I can't check the live chat. which is a real shame. So, by all means, talk amongst yourselves.
Stephen also made sure to repeatedly mention what day it was.
Hello to all on this glorious Sunday evening.
He also sang about needing to kill someone in the game, which could be a hint about what he was going to do to Natalie.
I need to kill this. I need to take her down.
At one point in the stream, he even says Natalie's name, which he finds oddly amusing.
That's what would happen in the real world. Abso-notly. Abso-notly.
But the most egregious hint happens midway through the stream. While Stephen was taking a break, the movie poster for No Time to Die comes up on screen. Stephen claimed this was an accident, saying that he had dropped his controller which had made the graphic come up. But since we now know the live stream was pre-recorded, this means Stephen edited this graphic in on purpose. The movie poster comes up at around 9:15 PM, which is exactly when Stephen was at Natalie's house, meaning this was likely a disturbing hint. Stephen was likely so brazen because he thought he had the perfect alibi, and to be fair, he nearly did get away with it. The most eerie part is the text from Natalie, saying that she might watch the live stream, meaning that she might have been watching Stephen when he entered her home. Stephen has been charged with her murder, but years on, is still awaiting trial. It was January 2021.
Alright, here's the next.
German Twitch streamer JDN was streaming as she normally does, which is when she got a phone call from her dad. She answers the call, but when JDN hears the voice on the other end of the phone, she is visibly disturbed.
Oh wait, my dad is calling. Hold on. Hello, Papa.
Instead of her dad, she hears the voice of another man, who tells her that he's with her father. The man goes on to say that if JDN doesn't remove her clothing live on stream, he will end her father's life. Despite being terrified, JDN keeps composed, but she is visibly concerned. The man on the phone then gets very angry, and begins shouting and cursing at JDN. JDN confirmed her father and family were safe, and then contacted the police. It turned out the man on the phone was JDN's long-term stalker. He had somehow spoofed her father's number, making it seem as if he was there with JDN's dad. Unfortunately, this was not the first time JDN had dealt with stalking. The same stalker had sent 25 pizzas to her house.
And the person ordered 25 pizzas from me. What the is wrong with you?
She had also had the fire department called to her house, after the stalker called saying that her apartment was on fire. Police did investigate the very creepy call, but unfortunately, the stalker was never found.
Oh my god.
It was November 2014.
Oh my god.
A man named Benjamin Bennett was streaming his very bizarre series, called simply Sitting and Smiling, where he does just that. Every week for several hours, Benjamin would sit and smile at the camera, not talking or moving. Benjamin's streams were a piece of endurance art, which is where an artist endures an unpleasant activity for a long period of time. Almost all of Benjamin's live streams were totally boring and mundane, which was kind of the point. But this would change on November 25th, around 2 hours into—
That's my birthday. Hold on, November 25th. What? What?
For our live stream, a burglar can be seen opening Benjamin's door.
Hello?
Dude.
The burglar calls out, "Hello?" But after seeing Benjamin sitting there saying nothing, the burglar runs away, without stealing anything. During the incident, Benjamin does not move at all, which he continued to do for 2 hours after the burglar had left. Later, Benjamin explained he had heard the man coming into the house, but assumed it was his housemate. It's amazing he was able to maintain composure with a burglar in his room, not even turning around to check if he was in danger.
That's weird. So this guy, he does something, I don't know why he does this, but he sits and he just smiles for like 3-4 hours at a time, live stream. Someone broke into his house, tried to, and he didn't even move. Imagine breaking into someone's house and you just see a guy sitting on the floor smiling at a camera. Ah, dude.
Dedication to performance art.
That's crazy.
It was 2020. A Twitch streamer named I'm Jasmine was in Japan. Everything was normal at first, but as she sat down to eat, something bizarre happened. A strange man stops in the street to talk to Jasmine.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
She tells the man she's on live stream and to please leave her alone, but that's when the man gets way too close.
Thank you so much. Oh, hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Why is he touching?
Oh my god, why are you touching me? No.
Oh man, stop. I'm sorry. No. No. Yeah, this is live stream.
She tells the man to stop many times, but he totally ignores her.
No, don't stop, man. Man, stop touching me, man. No.
At this point, Jasmine decides to go home.
Oh my god, man. I gotta go. Stop following me. Oh my god. I hate this guy.
But now knowing Jasmine is going home, the man tries to stalk her, possibly to find out where she lives. At this point, Jasmine begins to cry.
Always feeling unsafe. And I hate that because, like, I want to be able to, like, stream on myself and be okay.
That's
Not,
actually
like,
annoying.
Even when 5 minutes later someone touches me weirdly, like all the time.
That is weird.
Thankfully, the stalker eventually leaves. A few days later, Jasmine posted a video talking about the incident, saying that at first she was laughing as a defense mechanism, when in reality she was shocked and scared. It's scary the man did this knowing he's being live streamed. It really makes you wonder what he might have done if there were no cameras at all. It was September 2021. Popular streamer Trainwrecks TV was streaming from his apartment. It was a pretty mundane stream, with him simply talking with his live viewers. But that's when something deeply unsettling takes place. A bright green light was shined into his apartment.
I answer the call, you know, he lets this beautiful streak out. T-Dub? What the f?
Dude, what is that laser? Dude, it could be like a... Oh my god. Hopefully it's just somebody like playing with a laser and not like a rifle or a sniper rifle laser. Dude, that is weird.
Viewers in the chat began speculating as to what this could have been. Trainwrecks later explained what had happened. Disturbingly, someone had found out where he lives and shined a powerful laser through his window. This is incredibly creepy, and the exact reason why so many streamers avoid showing their windows. Now Trainwrecks has no sense of privacy within his own home, and now always streams with his blinds closed. It was 2019. A streamer named Ellie Gatto is walking around the streets of Japan. But that's when Ellie and her friend notice a creepy man has been following them for some time.
What's wrong with Japan?
Let's go this way. Oh god. Oh god.
And to make matters worse, the man is holding a katana.
That is weird.
Oh no, no, he's legit following us. Holy. Oh god. Oh god. Let's go find your husband. Let's go your husband.
Oh my god, he's actually following them.
They're visibly scared, but the man does not stop.
What the hell is she wearing, bro?
Chasing them.
What type of mask is that?
Thankfully, a passerby notices what's going on and is able to stop the man. The stalker is arrested by police soon after. Thankfully, someone stepped in. Otherwise, things could have escalated and turned seriously bad.
Dude, that is weird. That guy had a freaking katana. He's holding a sword following girls around. That is so weird. These live stream moments were insane. What's up, dummies? So I was just on YouTube and I saw this video. It said 4 most disturbing moments caught on live stream. So we're gonna see disturbing ass live streams. This is gonna be insane. This video has 1 million views, so people are really messing with it. Let's check this out. Try not to get scared.
In December of 2022,
okay, here we
the
are.
authorities in Northern Ireland came across a bizarre crime scene where the most likely suspect was somehow in 2 places at once.
What?
It all started on the 18th of December when Irish YouTuber VoteSaxon07, whose real identity is 33-year-old Stephen McCullen, live-streamed himself playing GTA Vice City. The stream started at around 6 p.m. and Stephen stayed live for about 6 hours, till midnight. The stream itself was quite unremarkable, with Stephen playing the game mostly in silence, broken by his occasional commentary. Unfortunately, while he was streaming comfortably in his home, his 32-year-old girlfriend, Natalie McNally, was going through something downright horrific. Stephen, however, was completely unaware of this and promptly went to sleep after ending the stream. The next day, he woke up to a barrage of calls and messages regarding Natalie. She was apparently at her parents' house the night before to watch the World Cup finale. The match ended at around 6 p.m. and Natalie went back to her home shortly after, which wasn't too far away. She lived alone in Northern Ireland with her 2 cats and a dog. However, the next day, no one could get through to Natalie. She didn't show up to work and wasn't picking up her phone either. At the time, she was also 15 weeks pregnant with Stephen's child. So when she went silent, her friends and family grew worried, fearing she was facing some health concerns. After learning about her absence and waiting a few hours for a response, Stephen went to her home, which was about 20 minutes away from his home in Lisburn. Unfortunately, he was too late. When Steven arrived at Natalie's home, the door was wide open. Inside, he found her lifeless on the floor.
Bro,
she had been
no.
killed.
Detectives from the Major Investigation Team have now launched a murder investigation following the death of Natalie McNally.
What?
This follows the results.
So he was live streaming whole time his wife was
The
getting
32-year-old died a violent death, having been stabbed a number of times, and there are signs of defensive injuries.
Post-mortem reports showed that she was killed on the night of December 18th, not long after she came back from her parents' home. However, investigators did not find any evidence of a forced entry into her home. This, combined with the fact that Steven was the one who reported her death to the police, made him the lead suspect in her murder investigation.
Right.
And he was arrested shortly after.
He got arrested for her murder, but he was literally live streaming. They better check the live stream.
However, this arrest didn't last long, because as the authorities quickly found out, Steven had a strong alibi. According to the post-mortem report, Natalie was killed during the same time Steven was live streaming from his home.
That's crazy. He had no idea. He's just playing live stream. Merry Christmas live stream. Playing a video game late at night. He must have just got off work playing a video game. Whole time he has no idea his girlfriend's being killed.
Investigators looked through Natalie's phone and found the last text Steven sent to her at 5:57 p.m. which read, "Right, I'm off to stream the night away. Wish me luck." To which
Damn.
Natalie replied, "I might have a peek at your live stream later." This was enough to clear Steven's name from any wrongdoing, but it left investigators with no clear direction on where to look next.
So who
Steven
even
did
killed
give
her?
them the name of someone he suspected. However, investigating that person didn't lead to any breakthrough in the case either, and the name of this person was never made public for this reason. Luckily, detectives found CCTV footage a few days later showing a man dressed in dark clothes and white shoes heading towards Natalie's home at 8:52 p.m. and then the same person going back about 40 minutes later. Given his timing, investigators determined that this was the killer. Shockingly, he had the same height and build as Steven. This put him on the radar once again, but it also raised a valid question. If Steven was the perpetrator, how could he be in two places at the same time?
Yeah, bro, he's
Without
live
any other
streaming.
option, the authorities put a £20,000 reward for information regarding the killer and
Yo.
continued investigating.
What if he made a fake live stream? You know how people on YouTube do like these live streams where they pre-record and act like they're live streaming? What if he made a fake live stream to basically be like, oh, how could I kill my wife if I was live streaming? But he made one of these fake live streams that loops. Oh my God.
They also feared that by the time they started this investigation, the killer could have easily fled to any of the neighboring countries. In
Right.
the meantime, Natalie's case had become national news, resulting in multiple memorials around the country.
Damn, rest
This
in
put even
peace.
more pressure on the investigators to find the killer as quickly as possible. They made several arrests and even seized the suspect's car. Investigators also found the weapon the killer used on the 5th of January 2023, which was a knife from her own home. However, none of these developments brought them any closer to identifying the killer.
They have no proof?
That is until January 31st when they arrested Steven again, but this time with solid evidence.
Huh?
As it turns out, the only thing keeping him out of suspicion, the live stream, was completely fake. The whole thing was pre-recorded and broadcasted to simply look like a live stream. After his arrest, investigators went through his computer and found the original recording, which was made on the 14th of December, 4 days before the incident. They also found a taxi driver who described picking up someone matching Steven's profile near the murder at 9:30 p.m. and then dropping this person near Steven's house. Most importantly, according to the taxi driver, this passenger had forgotten his wallet at home, so he quickly ran inside his house to get the money. And as expected, he ran into Steven's home. All this evidence left no doubt in the fact that Steven was the one who went to Natalie's home to commit a predetermined crime. In hindsight, there were plenty of suspicious moments during the fake live stream that should have raised more alarms.
Oh,
For
damn.
starters, the stream was titled The Violent Night Christmas Live Gaming Stream. At the
Violent Night Christmas live game stream. This dude made his live stream named The Violent Night, and then he did something violent to his wife.
Start of the stream, Steven also claimed that he was having technical issues with the streaming software, which he used as an excuse as to why he wouldn't be able to interact with the live chat.
Well, because this streaming software is kind of up the left, it means I can't check the live chat, which is a real shame. So,
He's
by all
lying.
means, talk amongst yourselves.
He's lying. He's saying he can't talk to chat because his streaming software is messed up, but whole time it's a pre-recorded video. That's why he can't talk to chat. Oh my God, this dude thought he had hella brains, but they're on to you.
This ensured that no one questioned why he wasn't talking with his viewers, which is essentially the whole point of doing a stream instead of posting a pre-recorded video. At the start of the stream, Steven made sure to repeatedly mention what day it was.
Hello to all on this glorious Sunday evening. Yeah, so I just thought, why not? I'm gonna do a live stream because this day next week is Christmas. So what more could you want for Christmas other than an evening with your own?
He keeps mentioning the date.
This was likely an effort to make his alibi stronger and to say, look, I was streaming the same night. I even mentioned the day at the beginning. On top of that, many moments in the stream also took on a far more disturbing meaning after the truth came out.
Oh God.
Like him singing about killing someone in-game, which can also be interpreted as him cryptically talking about his girlfriend.
I need to kill it. I need to take her down. 'Cause I won't pass the mission if I don't get this to die. Tra-la-la.
At another point during the stream, he makes a pun that sounds like Natalie's name and finds it unusually amusing.
Yeah, that's physics. That's what would happen in the real world. Absolutely. Absolutely.
The most creepy moment, however, was about halfway through the stream. While he was on break, suddenly the live stream back soon graphic switched with a poster of a James Bond movie called No Time to Die. Steven later claimed that this was an accident. He accidentally dropped his controller on the keypad, which made the strange graphic come up. But since we now know that the live stream was pre-recorded, Steven deliberately included this graphic at this point during the editing, likely alluding to the crime he was going to commit on that day. Wow. This theory becomes even more credible once you consider the fact that this movie poster came up at about 9:15 p.m., which perfectly aligns with the time he was at Natalie's house committing the brutal crime.
No.
That said, his clever schemes were derailed and he was—
What? He put that poster at 9:15 p.m. that night, basically right at the time that he killed— What?
Charged with murder. He was also refused bail. And at the time of writing, he's awaiting trial on May 6, 2025.
Oh my
Hopefully Natalie and her family can get the justice they deserve.
Dude, he thought he was finna get away with it by making a fake live stream. I knew it! I literally mentioned, I think that he's gonna do a pre-recorded live. Oh my God, that's a crazy story.
On April 4th, 2020,
he could have got away with it.
Ernest Wilson went live on Facebook during a house party,
okay,
without knowing that these were his final moments alive.
Oh.
Ernest was a 24-year-old warehouse worker living in Baltimore, Maryland.
Okay.
The only passion he had in life was for partying, playing board games, and turning them into drinking games.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the 2020 pandemic and the subsequent lockdown closed every public venue he frequented. So he decided to take matters in his own hands and came up with a solid plan. He would rent Airbnbs, host an invite-only party which he referred to as a game night with a fee to cover the expenses, and have a good time with his friends. These parties started off small but quickly grew in numbers as more and more people became aware of them. And on April 3rd, he went onto Facebook to plan another party that weekend, asking, "Should I do game nights again this weekend?" And, "We playing hide and seek at game night tonight?" After receiving enough confirmations, he decided to go ahead with the plans and announced a 2-day game night with free entry for girls and a $5 fee for the guys. Not long after this announcement, he also made a post about bringing uninvited people, stating, "Please don't show up with nobody I didn't personally invite if we didn't discuss it first. They're going to get left outside." Maybe he had experienced problems with uninvited guests at past events. Or maybe he simply wanted to know the exact number of attendees ahead of time. But in hindsight, his concern makes a lot more sense. As the night approached, Ernest started the event, and it went just as well as he could have hoped, with everyone dancing and having a good time.
Okay, so he's having a fun party.
That is until 2:30 a.m. when the group decided to play the hide-and-seek game they discussed earlier. Ernest took charge as the first seeker and began a countdown at the Airbnb's backyard.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
He's live streaming.
However, as soon as he began searching for his friends, he stumbled upon something completely unexpected.
1, 2, 3. Who the f is that, G?
I don't know. I'm in your face.
Get your on the other side of this gate.
This can't be one of my friends.
He saw someone trying to jump the fence and break into the property.
What?
Now, the correct response would have been to go back inside to safety and call the cops on this intruder.
Right.
However, Ernest was already a bit under the influence at the time and made the biggest mistake of his life. He decided to confront the man on his own, and that's when things took a turn. The intruder was armed, and after some back and forth, tragically shot Ernest before fleeing the scene, all of which could be heard on the live stream.
No way.
The police arrived at the property at 2:45 a.m. where they found Ernest lying in a pool of his own blood. According to the few statements that were released to the public, this appeared to be a case of a robbery gone wrong. However, some believe there was more to the story. This is because during Ernest's struggle with the intruder, a girl can be heard laughing in the background. As the story goes, this girl was an accomplice of the intruder who planned to either rob the place or eliminate Ernest for some reason, with one person on YouTube writing, "That girl tried to let someone in the front door, or she knew who tried coming through the door. Once discovering it was locked, she told them to hop the fence as clear as day. I would start with her boyfriend."
Damn, so a girl was
Unfortunately, from what I can find, the police never caught the suspect, and Ernest's case remains open to this day.
No way, bro. That's a nice ass picture, I ain't gonna lie. Makes him look like a nice ass guy. I don't really know the dude, but damn, that's sad, bro. He was just throwing a party. Somebody hops the fence.
Especially 5 years later.
5 years ago? And they haven't found the... It's annoying.
On September 7th, 2024, a 32-year-old man by the name of Joseph
Is that
Couch
Stewie
opened
Griffin?
fire on vehicles traveling down I-75 near the city of London, Kentucky.
What?
He managed to hit 12 cars, injuring 5 people. Fortunately, there were no fatalities. As authorities rushed to his location, Joseph managed to escape into the wooded area alongside the highway.
Cars?
This left the investigators with no choice but to search the
hell's
Daniel
wrong
Boone
with him?
National Forest, hoping to find the mass shooter. In the meantime, they also began looking into Joseph's past and made some chilling discoveries. He served in the Army Reserve from 2013 to 2019 before receiving an honorable discharge due to him developing PTSD.
You gotta do that in the Army? They're talking about how he's in the Army. I don't know what's in my ear. I think I got a bug in my ear or something. You gotta stand and stare at lockers in the Army? Bro, I'm never going to the Army.
More importantly, this wasn't his first entanglement with law enforcement. Back in 2015, he was arrested for throwing a rock at a dog and then pointing an AR-15 at its owner. Joseph had to pay $1,000.
Who the hell throws a rock at a dog?
The case was later dismissed a few months later. However, the same year, he was arrested again. This time for supplying a minor with alcohol and vandalizing private property with spray paint. This resulted in him having to spend 6 months in jail, alongside
Can this dude get put
200
down?
hours of community service and a
They need to put this guy
$1,500
down.
fine. All of this highlighted just how mentally unstable he was. Something that became even more apparent when investigators factored in the messages he sent to his ex before the shooting. These read, "I'm going to kill a lot of people. Well, at least try. I'll kill myself afterwards." His past record and these texts also made it clear that Joseph wouldn't go down without a fight if they managed to find him. Unfortunately, the search for him wasn't progressing as smoothly as they'd hoped.
The search for the suspected highway gunman, Joseph Couch, intensifies as law enforcement has expanded its search efforts. State police say they are extending their search deeper into
Like,
Daniel
bro,
Boone
I don't mean to be
National
rude, but like, this looks like the type of guy that would do something like that. Like, he just looks like I feel like all these people who commit these crazy crimes, they all look the same, bro. They just look like they don't got anything going in their
Forest as
lives.
the manhunt for Couch enters day 7.
He probably doesn't even wear underwear.
Local agencies were forced to close a section of I-75 and shut down schools, fearing Joseph might strike again. Eventually, they did manage to find his SUV, which also had numerous cases of ammo for the AR-15 style rifle he used for the shooting.
Look at the rim,
However,
though.
this didn't
Bro, you know, motherfucker, people with this rim, bro. When you see somebody without a rim, you better watch out because they might run into you or they might be selling
any clues about his current
stuff.
whereabouts.
That's all I'm
In a
gonna say.
desperate measure, the authorities put a $35,000 reward for finding Joseph to enlist the help of
$35K?
locals.
That's a lot of money.
And that's where the McCoy couple entered the picture.
Huh?
Fred McCoy and his wife Sheila operate a museum dedicated to the historic feud between the Hatfield and McCoy families in Kentucky. They also run a small YouTube channel dedicated to this museum called Hatfield McCoy Museum Adventures, where they discuss the various aspects of that feud in greater detail. After hearing about the massive reward, the couple decided to give it a go. They had lived in the area their entire lives and knew the wilderness well.
$35,000. That's a sweet little piece of money.
That's a lot of money.
We're going looking for him.
No.
He finds us.
That's a bad idea. That's a bad idea. So these two, this guy and his wife have a YouTube channel. They're gonna try to go find him so they can get the $35,000 reward. This guy's an armed murderer. He was shooting at people. He looks like Stewie Griffin. Why would you?
This Couch guy, Joseph Couch.
They also decided to live stream their adventure through the Kentucky forest on
It's a
YouTube,
badass idea.
likely
It's
to
a
have an
bad
instant
idea.
record of whatever they find.
It's a bad
they
idea.
truly believed they could find him, and luck was on their side. Because during one of their live-streamed expeditions, Fred noticed a whole bunch of vultures hovering over the same area, possibly indicating a rotting corpse nearby. The two decided to head towards the vultures, and just 30 minutes later, the McCoys found what they were looking for.
You found him? Oh, my Lanta. I'm coming.
Oh, shit.
Oh, my Lanta, you found him? Oh, my Lanta.
They immediately alerted the authorities, who used DNA testing to confirm the body was indeed Joseph Couch. A later autopsy report also confirmed that he went through with the plan he talked about in his message. After 13 days of searching, the I-75 shooter mystery finally came to a close.
Did they get the money?
Manhunt and easing the fear of Joseph still being out there.
Did those people get 35,000? You ain't gonna tell me? I hope they got the 35,000. That's
On
badass.
October 28, 2019, a 47-year-old Japanese man named Tetsu Shiohara live-streamed himself climbing Mount Fuji.
What the hell does he got hanging up? Are those socks? What type of room do you got going on? Your TV's about to fall over. Your socks are hanging. Okay, I'm not going to judge this guy. You know, maybe he got lost or something. I need to be nice.
And what was supposed to be nothing more than a fun stream quickly turned into an avoidable tragedy.
Oh.
You see, Tetsu had been climbing Mount Fuji since 2017 and had already
Climbing
reached
a
the
mountain's
summit many
crazy.
times. However, all of those previous expeditions were during the climbing season, which stretches from July to mid-September.
Yeah, you don't want to climb when it's snowing, right? You wouldn't want to climb a snowy mountain. That's dangerous.
And
right.
while it's not an easy task, it's far safer during these months with maintained trails, milder weather, and
More
resting
people.
huts along the way that also sell essential supplies like food and oxygen cans.
Right.
So when Tetsu decided to climb the mountain in late October, it was already covered in thick, slippery snow. And the conditions were far harsher than he could have imagined, with winds reaching up to 60 miles per hour.
Why is he doing
All of
this?
the resting spots on the mountain were
60
also
mile per
closed
hour
for the
wind?
off-season.
Yeah, they
But
close all the shops. Dude, whenever you hike up a mountain, every half of a mile or something, there's a shop that you can buy food and water if you get hungry. The hell was that sound, bro? I just heard something crazy. I don't know if the mic picked it up, but I'm watching this scary ass video and I'm not trying to. It's midnight right now as I'm recording this, so it's a bad idea to watch this scary ass video. But they sell stuff at these shops, and he started hiking when they don't have the shops open.
Despite this being his first off-season climb, the unfavorable conditions did not deter
I swear to God, if somebody comes in my room, they're getting punched on
He was determined
camera.
to reach the summit and make it back in a single day. Unfortunately, the stream didn't get off to a good start, as he forgot to bring essentials like thicker socks to keep his feet warm and
Oh.
crampons to prevent his shoes from slipping.
Crampon? What is that? I'm not even. You forgot your socks, bro. You had like hella socks hanging up earlier. How do you forget
Later,
them
he
big
also
ass white
commented on
socks?
how he didn't bring any food with him to avoid making his backpack too heavy.
You didn't bring
But as the
food?
climb continued, not having food became the least of his worries, as he quickly realized the snow that day was deeper than he could have imagined. On his way to the top, he passed several points where the trail had collapsed due to bad weather. About 2 hours into the hike, his viewers started to notice how dangerous things were getting as well, and began urging him to turn back before
Yeah,
reaching the
bro.
summit.
Turn around, bro. There was literally a hole in the ground. But I think we can make it. What?
However, he ignored all the warning signs and pressed on with the hike. And by sheer willpower, actually managed to get close to the summit.
Really?
Sadly, this is where his luck ran out. While treading through a particularly steep section of the trail, Tetsu slipped and fell down the mountainside.
It's quite difficult because of snow. Bit of construction. This is dangerous.
Seconds after slipping, his phone hit a rock and turned off, ending the live stream. His viewers immediately alerted the authorities. However, due to the harsh conditions, it took rescue workers 2 days to locate Tetsu's body. They found it severely dismembered, 2,300 feet below the point where he'd slipped.
They found him 2,300 feet from where he slipped. So he fell all the...
Now, for most people, this was an open and shut case of an inexperienced and underprepared person misjudging the dangers of Mount Fuji. But I came across some interesting theories regarding the situation. For example, one person stated, "I don't think he wanted to go exactly how/where he did on the mountain, but if you ever saw the live stream, you'd know that he definitely was planning on doing it, probably at the top. The chat was begging him to turn back, and he made constant, likely deliberate references to not being fully equipped. Additionally, he had a very ample and generous amount of time to turn around if it had purely been a mistake, with the last few people he met warning him to not go any further. In other words, Tetsu intended to end everything that day. The missing equipment was a deliberate decision, not an oversight. Although there's no evidence to prove this theory, and we'll never know for sure if this was actually his intention."
Yo, that's insane, bro. 4 people who are live streaming that had bad things happen to them. That's insane. If y'all want to help me get to 100,000 subscribers, make sure y'all unsubscribe from my channel. Watch another video. Peace out. This is crazy. What's up, dummies? This video says 4 unsolved disappearances with horrifying final phone calls. This is going to be 4 people who literally disappeared, and we can hear their final phone call asking for help, begging for help. This is going to be scary as hell. If you get scared easily, you better put some pull-ups on. Let's go. Try not to get scared. This is going to be insane, bro.
The day is July 4th, 1999, America's Independence Day. The location, Irvine, Colorado. It's a nice day with a high of 90 degrees. One family wanted to take advantage of this, and so before they went off to go watch their fireworks later that night, they all decided to go swimming in a locally known swimming hole.
Oh God.
This is where the family would discover a pickup truck resting at the bottom of the muddy water.
Wait, what?
Not sure what to make of it, the family called the police.
Yo, imagine you go to like a pool, like, do you have like a lake or a pond near you? Imagine you go there and you just see a car in the middle of the lake. You're like, who the hell? Dude,
the sheriff's department would be the first to respond to this scene. The truck ended up belonging to a man named Dale Williams, someone who had officially been declared missing just 6 weeks prior.
Oh my God.
Dale owned an auto body shop and was working at the time of his disappearance. One of his friends who he had hired was working with him at the time and recalls exactly what happened that day.
Oh my God.
The two were sitting in the office when the phone to the auto body shop started ringing.
Okay.
Dale picked it up and began talking. Now, his friend couldn't hear everything that was said, but Dale would give him a short summary when he finished the call. The caller claimed to be stranded in what's known as Paradox Valley, which was north of Dale's shop. Their motorcycle had broken down on them, and they were requesting a tow, which Dale agreed to help out with. He then set out. This call would be the last call Dale would ever answer.
No way.
He never came home that night.
What?
His wife would call him multiple times, but to no avail. Dale had disappeared without a trace.
Dude, don't tell me Dale went to go help somebody and then he ends up like accidentally hitting the wrong turn or whatever, or his car just goes janky. Because I mean, you saw the picture of that truck. That thing's busted as hell. That thing's old as hell. Maybe he was driving and he couldn't turn the wheel and he just went right into the freaking ocean.
He was officially declared missing that night, and over the next few days, a search consisting of hundreds of volunteers commenced. Though not a single clue would result.
Wow.
This leads us back to 6 weeks later when Dale's truck was found in the water by a local family swimming. It was determined that at the time the truck entered the water, the ignition was on, and at a very low crawl speed, the wheel was turned at a sharp angle towards the water. This discovery led a lot of people to believe the truck ending up in the water was not an accident. Over the years, multiple different theories have surfaced under this belief. For example, some believe he's living on an island somewhere.
What?
Others believe he faked his own death and ran off with some other woman.
Have they found his body?
But probably the theory with the most traction is someone wanted him dead, and that someone was the person who called his shop that day claiming to be a stranded motorist, ultimately luring Dale to his death. Interestingly, Dale had 2 daughters, and somewhat recently one of them took to Reddit under the sub r/askmeanything.
No way.
She gave the whole story, and comments started flooding in. One commenter asked her what she herself believes happened to her dad. She would simply reply, "I think he was murdered. Why or by who, I don't know.
Bro.
Some speculate the person responsible was a man that was one of Dale's ex-friends. 1 year before Dale had gone missing, him and his wife had helped move the man's ex-wife away from him out of state to safety without his knowledge.
Okay.
This clearly made the man angry, as a month after the move, he put torn up pictures of the four of them next to bullets all scattered on the ground of Dale's shop. So clearly a motive is there.
That his friend did it.
It turns out that after Dale's disappearance, he was even captured taking down missing posters of Dale around the town.
What?
He was brought in for questioning, but denied any involvement.
Bro, so Dale went missing and one of his old friends saw missing posters of Dale and he was taking them down because he didn't want people to help out. Bro, and then he also put torn up pictures of Dale in front of his shop and with a bunch of bullets.
He ended up passing a polygraph test and supposedly had an alibi around the time Dale went missing.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Thus,
right.
he would be ruled out by law enforcement.
Yeah, right, bro. It was him.
To this day, it's unknown where Dale is.
He hasn't
or
been
who called his
found?
shop the day of his disappearance.
Nobody's seen him in the water? Like floating? My God. All right, here's the next story, yo.
Back in 1991, a then 22-year-old named Angela Hammond was living in Clinton, Missouri. She was a student at Central Missouri State University, meanwhile also working at a bank. On April 4th, Angela and her fiancé, Rob Schaefer, had plans to go to a barbecue together.
Okay.
When it started wrapping up, Rob knew he had to get home because he was supposed to be watching his little brother until his mom got home.
Okay.
Angela dropped him off at his house, but the two still wanted to hang out. They decided that Angela would call him in a few hours to work out a spot where they could meet downtown. Meanwhile, Rob would watch his brother.
Okay.
Cut to a few hours later, and sure enough, Rob's phone started ringing. Now, again, this was 1991, so Angela was calling from a payphone rather than a cell phone. She was using one that was located in the center of town, only 7 blocks from Rob's house. The two started discussing where they wanted to meet up, but after a few minutes, Angela mentioned a truck she saw that had circled the block a few times in a row now.
Oh God.
Rob would later say that she described it as a green pickup with this really distinct decal of a fish jumping out of the water, covering the entire back window. Though, it wasn't until it parked right next to her that she became genuinely concerned.
A random car.
A man got out and briefly used the second payphone just next to her. He then walked back to his car and pulled out a flashlight as if he was looking for something. Rob listened as Angela asked the man if he needed to use the phone, assuming the one he had tried to use was broken. The man responded saying it was fine, and that he would try again in a minute. Rob and Angela continued their conversation, not thinking much about the encounter. But shortly after, the sound of Angela's screaming shot through the line. Without even thinking, Rob immediately dropped the phone and got in his car to drive the 7 blocks to the payphone.
Bro.
He made it about halfway when he noticed a pickup truck speed past him in the other direction.
Yep, turn around.
Not only that, but he also reported to have heard a panicked woman's voice screaming his name out of the window.
Oh yeah, go,
Rob threw his car in reverse and began chasing down the pickup. But what he didn't know at the time is that him throwing his car into reverse as fast as he did had severely damaged the transmission. 2 miles into the chase, and his car began to stall. Eventually, his car came to a complete stop.
Bro, what?
He watched as the truck's taillights faded into the distance.
Oh my God, imagine, bro, you have a girlfriend and she gets captured by this kidnapper dude, and then you're driving and you just pass him and you're like, oh snap. So you start chasing him, and then your car breaks down and he just keeps going farther and farther. Bro, you gotta get a better car, bro.
Authorities were almost immediately notified of the situation. Over the next few days, Missouri State Highway Patrol checked hundreds of registered trucks matching the
Please tell
description
me
Rob
she
gave
didn't
them,
die, bro.
but none of them were a match.
Please tell me she didn't
Unfortunately, blame would start to shift towards Rob himself.
What?
Police suspected he had made the whole story up, and in reality, he was responsible for Angela's disappearance.
Could be.
Though, in only a week, this lead would get thrown out. 2 witnesses in the area at the time had come out reporting to have seen a truck matching the description Rob gave.
Okay.
And in addition, Rob had also now passed a polygraph test.
So where?
Over the years, there have been many different unconfirmed sightings of Angela in different states, but whether these are real sightings or not is unknown.
She was never
As far as
found?
we know, that phone call Rob and Angela had on the night of her disappearance would be the last phone call she would ever make.
Bro, what? What? Dude, that's crazy. Imagine you have a girlfriend and you're like hanging out and you guys are having a great time, and then she takes you home or you take her home, And then, you know, she calls you and she's like, hey, like, let's hang out later. Like, you're so excited to hang out later. And then you hear her going, oh yeah, let's, she gets captured. You chase the guy who captured her, and then your car breaks down and you never see her again. Yo! Story number 3.
May 14, 2008. Brandon Swanson, a student at Minnesota West Community and Technical College, is out celebrating the end of spring semester with a few other students.
Okay, a little spring break.
Around 1 a.m., Brandon finally starts to head home, which was located in Marshall, Minnesota. He was currently in Canby, Minnesota, so it was about a 30-minute drive to his home.
Take that road right
At
there.
some point during this drive, Brandon mistakenly swerves into a ditch on the side of the road. He was unhurt and there was no damage to his car, but he couldn't move it. It was stuck.
Walk home,
he then
buddy.
gets out and manually attempts to free it by himself, but he can't. He calls some of his nearby friends, but none of them answer.
Bro, he called his friends and none of them answered. Bro, you were just with your friends. I'd be so pissed off if I was with my friends and then I got in a car crash and I called them 20 minutes later and they didn't answer. Bro, your friends gotta answer,
no other
bro.
option but to call his parents, and so he does. He explains his situation and tells them he's somewhere near the city of Lind. While staying on the line, his parents start driving there to pick him up.
Why would he be over there?
When they arrive, Brandon and his car were nowhere to be found. After a while, Brandon began flashing his headlights, and his parents started to do the same, but still they couldn't see each other.
What?
Brandon told them that he could see city lights off in the distance, and believing they were from the city of Lind, he told his parents that he would just walk there and meet them at a well-known bar in the area.
Okay, yeah, just
He
walk.
got
I
out
mean,
of
that's
his
what I
car
would have
and
done.
started walking on gravel roads towards the city.
I mean, dude, I dare somebody, like if I'm walking at night, I dare somebody to pull over and try to mess with me, bro. I have been waiting so long to punch, oh my God.
Though, Brandon would eventually decide to cut through a field, believing that it would be faster than just staying on the road.
Bro, why would you cut through a field?
Still on the phone with his parents, Brandon would note nearby fences and water while in the field.
So he's on the phone with his mom or on the phone with his dad or maybe on a group call or whatever, and he's calling him, trying to walk. He doesn't know where he is because this is back in 2008 where sometimes you didn't have GPS. So imagine that, bro. He can't just like go on Snapchat, Snap Maps and be like, oh, I'm right here, bro. Like Life 360. He didn't have none of that. He didn't know where he was. It was completely dark.
Then, at the 47-minute mark in the call, Brandon abruptly yelled out, "Oh, shit," before the line went completely silent. His parents called out to him several times, but there was no response.
He said, oh,
They
shit.
then ended the call and
then
repeatedly tried to call him back, but once again, there was no response.
He just ran. He was in the middle of the conversation and he said, oh, shit. And then he just went silent. Oh, shit. Silence. But the call didn't end. So maybe like he might have like fell into something or like his phone might have broken or something.
Brandon was never successfully contacted for the whole rest of that night.
What?
He would be officially declared missing early the next morning.
Wow.
Police got involved.
19 years old, 5'5", 120 pounds. Okay, yeah, he definitely could have got taken, bro. I was thinking, bro, you're like a grown man. Like, he looks like pretty tall. No, it's 5'5", 120. A strong guy, like 200-pound, 6-foot guy could just lift him up. So.
And oddly, when they tracked his phone calls, they were traced to a cell tower in a completely different location than what he told his parents.
Wait, he told his...
Brandon was over 25 miles away in a city named Porter when he called his parents.
Bro, I knew it, bro. He literally... Bro, okay, so he was in Canby, and he was going home to Marshall. He said he crashed along the way. Why would you be in Lind? He said he was in Lind down here. You would have had to went all the way over here. Of course you're not... Bro, this kid does not know his directions, bro.
With this information, police searched the new area, and sure enough, they found Brandon's car stuck in a ditch.
Okay, they found his car.
Brandon himself was nowhere to be found. Police dogs were brought in to assist in the search. The dogs traced a scent straight to a nearby river, the Yellow Medicine River, which was at its highest point during this time of the year.
Oh.
Immediately, it was assumed Brandon had fallen into the river, but the scent had actually continued on towards a different gravel road where it finally stopped. Still, many believe Brandon had fallen into the river and ultimately drowned.
That makes sense. Like, you're just walking in the dark, and they're like, oh, shit. And then you fall off the thing, and then your phone hits the water, and then it goes quiet because it broke the phone. See, if the phone... I think he went in the water. Because the phone, like, okay, if you, like, fall off a cliff, your phone, like, you'll hear, like, ah! They would have heard it, but they literally heard, oh, shit. And then it ended. So maybe, oh, fall in the water. Phone goes in the water, completely ruins the microphone. Silence.
Except during the phone call with his parents, they would recall no sounds of rushing water around the time he went silent.
They didn't hear any
Plus,
water.
at no point was a body or even clothing found in the river, which almost surely would have surfaced.
Yeah?
There are countless other theories out there, mainly due to how popular this case has gotten. But what really happened, or what Brandon had seen during that final phone call, remains unknown.
Bro, what? Okay, I guess this video is unsolved disappearances. Bro, how are these people not being found, bro? I just want to go out there and just like try to find them, bro. I want to go to that city, like Lind, Minnesota, or wherever he went missing. I want to look at every single inch of the... Where could he, like, how are these people gone, bro? 2008? That's 17 years ago. Wait, did I just do math like that? I think I just did quick-ass math. Let's go. That's 17 years ago, bro. How has he not been spotted? Someone must have taken him or something, bro. All right, here's the next story. These are
February
creepy, bro.
1983.
1983.
A 10-year-old, Joanne Pedersen, was spending the evening at a local mall with her 12-year-old sister and 14-year-old cousin.
7-year-old?
Her parents
At a
were out for the
mall?
night,
How did
meaning
she
the
go
three would be
missing?
left to walk the short distance home themselves. As they were doing so, Joanne and her sister would get into an argument. This led her sister and cousin to run ahead and lock Joanne out of the house as a sort of childish joke. But
They locked
it was
her out of
cold
the
and
house.
raining that night.
Cold and raining.
Crying, Joanne pounded on the door for some time, but soon just gave up. She decided she'd walk back into town to look for a payphone that she could use to call her parents.
Bro, what is it with these payphones, bro? If you see if there's a 7-year-old girl in the dark at a payphone with no family around, there's gonna be a creepy guy that's gonna pull up, bro. There's people in this world that are nasty, bro.
She started walking and eventually came across the phone just next to a convenience store. Joanne called her stepfather, who answered right away. She would tell him about the altercation with her sister and how she needed to be picked up. Joanne's stepfather assured her they'd come get her as soon as possible. To calm her
Not
down,
soon
he then
enough.
handed the phone to her mother. But when Joanne's mother put the phone to her ear, all she could hear was scratching and rustling.
Oh my god.
Then there was a man's voice. He told her that if they didn't come to pick up their daughter in 30 minutes, he was going to call the police. The two arrived to the payphone around 15 to 20 minutes later, yet Joanne was nowhere to be seen. Her parents contacted the police and a search was commenced almost immediately.
Bro, what?
Everyone that entered that convenience store that night was interviewed. Some reported to have seen a car with a man and child driving off right past the store.
Yo.
Others reported to have actually seen the man talking on the payphone with Joanne, even giving a description of what he looked like.
Look at that.
Though he was never identified. Who this man actually was remains a mystery. But it's not even clear if he had any part in Joanne's disappearance. None of the witnesses interviewed actively saw Joanne being taken. Joanne has since never been seen.
Bro!
The call she placed that night would be the last time her parents or anyone ever heard from her.
This was in 1983. She could be dead. Like, okay, obviously she could be dead because she's missing. But I'm saying, like, my dad was born in, like, 1970 and he's, like, 50-something. So this girl's, like, 40-something years old. Oh, my God, bruh. This is messed up, bro. We'll never know what happened to these people, bro. Oh my gosh. What's up, dummies? So normally on my channel, I react to scary videos of people getting kidnapped, people getting abducted. I always react to like scary mysteries that have never been solved. But today, I thought we should switch it up and we should watch 5 disturbing internet mysteries that were actually solved. So unlike my other videos where I watch people who got kidnapped or people who went missing and never were found again, today we're gonna react to 5 different things that have actually gotten solved. We're gonna actually have a good ending to these videos for once. Let's go watch this. It has 3 million views. Shout out to this guy. Let's go. Try not to get scared.
On the 24th of April, 2022, at around 3 p.m., 10-year-old Lily Peters left her home to visit her aunt on her own.
Oh God, dude. Why do we have to start the video off about a little girl going missing? Hopefully this is actually going to be good news though. Hopefully she's found. She just looks so cute.
The aunt's house was just a 3-minute bike ride from Lily's home in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. And since she lived with just her father, Alexander, after her parents' divorce, Lily often went to her aunt's house on the weekends to play around.
So this 10-year-old girl rode her bike to her aunt's house. Nothing like out of the ordinary. She does this all the time, but I feel like they're gonna say she got kidnapped or something.
Well, it wasn't unusual for her to make this journey on her own. Unfortunately, what started off as an ordinary weekend was about to end in a horrific tragedy.
Oh God.
Things took a turn for the worse when Alex noticed that it was getting dark and Lily still hadn't come home. It wasn't like her to stay out late. He called his sister, assuming Lily was still at her place. But to his surprise, she told him Lily had already left over an hour ago. He then called the parents of Lily's friends, hoping she might have stopped at one of their houses on her way back. However, none of them had seen her either. Fearing for the safety of his daughter, Alex began searching the route Lily would have taken to and from her aunt's house. He also contacted the police and reported his daughter missing at around 9 p.m. While the authorities didn't issue an Amber Alert, they quickly formed a search party to help look for her in the surrounding area. And after hours of searching, Alex finally discovered the first clue to his daughter's whereabouts: her bike, abandoned in a nearby wooded area. But Lily herself was nowhere to be found.
Dude, that is creepy, bro. Your daughter goes missing, and then you're looking for her, and then you find her bike in the middle of the woods. Oh, I bet oh no, dude, that'd be creepy.
Police deployed drones and rescue dogs to search the woods and investigate the hiking trail that ran through the area. Then, at around 8:45 a.m., Alex received the news he had been dreading all night. Lily was deceased. A volunteer had discovered her body hidden under a pile of leaves just a few feet from the trail.
I thought this was gonna be good news, bro.
After a brief examination, police ruled her death a homicide and began looking for the perpetrator.
Somebody killed the girl.
Unfortunately, they had nothing that could lead them in the right direction.
And they have no evidence or anything about who did it. They just have no idea. Hopefully they figure it out, because it says internet mysteries that were solved by people on Reddit. So hopefully someone on Reddit knows something and they can find the killer and send that motherfucker to jail.
Post about Lily's case in the true crime subreddit. While everyone else was speculating on what could have happened to Lily, user HomesliceNation4 came forward with a crucial piece of information in a now deleted comment that read, "What's scary is I was playing Pokemon Go in the park that day and walking along that very same trail. My stomach turns when I think that I saw that girl in a pink/purple hoodie on her bike with another kid on my way out.
Oh my god.
I have a suspicion that it could be another kid that did it."
Wow.
Another user called the police tip line to report HomesliceNation4's comment. And to everyone's surprise, this was the breakthrough the investigators needed to solve the case.
No way.
Because just a few hours later, police arrested Carson Peters Berger, Lily's 14-year-old cousin, as the prime suspect in her murder.
You're a
Not
weirdo.
long after he was taken into custody, Carson admitted to everything. However, just what happened to Lily that night was more horrifying than anyone could have ever imagined. According to Carson, he followed Lily as she was heading home and told her to follow him into the woods. He'd been planning this for months.
What?
Once they were off the trail, he punched her in the stomach, hit her several times with a large stick, and strangled her until she took her final breath.
What?
He then went back home as if nothing had happened. But when he heard about the search for Lily, he panicked and went back into the woods to move her body further from the crime scene and hid it under a pile of leaves. Though, all thanks to one Reddit comment, he was thankfully caught.
Dude, so thanks to this guy who said he was playing Pokemon in the park that day, and then he saw that girl riding her bike, and she saw her with a guy, this kid, and he reported it, and they found this kid. They would have never assumed that it was this kid. They would have thought it was like an older person.
Given the severity of his crimes and the fact that it was all premeditated, prosecutors decided to try Carson as an adult.
Wow.
He's still in custody, awaiting his trial set for some time.
Send him to jail for life, bro. Okay, well, thankfully they caught the killer, but damn, that was sad. Hopefully we can get some good news in these next stories.
On May 1st, 2013, Reddit user ShadyBusiness15 posted on the What Is This Thing subreddit, seeking answers for a strange device he found inside his power strip. The post read, "Violently blew a fuse in my extension cord, took it apart to see the damage, and found this inside." Alongside this, the OP shared pictures of two circuit boards connected to each other with wires, and what appeared to be a SIM card.
I think that's a bomb, bro. That looks like a bomb.
He also cross-posted this in the Reddit Bureau of Investigation subreddit, where users noticed a microphone on one of the circuit boards and figured this was a spying device of some kind. With one comment providing more details about how it worked, stating, "Your extension cord is a room bug. Someone calls the phone number on that SIM and the extension cord auto-answers and listens to the room." Put simply, one of the circuit boards was a cut-down version of a phone that used the SIM to transfer audio from the built-in microphone.
So this guy's living in a random apartment, and one of his outlets, like in the wall, you plug the stuff in, it blew up. So he checked it out to see what it was, and he found this machine in there that listens to everything that's happening in his room. Somebody's listening to him, bro.
The second board was a power delivery module, allowing the device to run directly off of the wall power without needing any batteries.
Wow.
However, this raised more questions than it answered, especially about the OP's true identity, with some users speculating if he was involved in some shady business. After all, why else would someone go through the effort of planting a bug to listen in on his conversations? But according to a later comment, he was just a normal university student who was living in the university's dorms, and that he took this extension cord from his home when he moved. Bud also mentioned that there are other people with access to his room who could have planted the bug without his knowledge.
Bro, why
With
did
this,
people
the
want to
focus
listen
shifted
to him?
towards finding out who planted this in the OP's power strip and why. Some users suggested putting the SIM in a spare phone, but doing so only deepened the mystery further. Apparently, it had a 10-pound credit, suggesting that it was being used at some point. However, it didn't have any contacts, voicemails, or call logs. And judging from the network messages, the device had been active since October 2012. This also helped the OP retrieve the SIM's number, but calling it returned an automated message stating, "The service is now closed, and if you have voicemail, you can turn it on." Nothing else. The OP tried leaving it active in a spare phone as well, but even after days of waiting, he didn't receive any calls or messages. It's possible the person who planted it had already gotten the information they needed, or perhaps they found out the OP had discovered it and decided to back off. In either case, the OP's only remaining option was to contact the SIM's carrier, O2. Unfortunately, they weren't much help either. He would have needed a police warrant to access the call logs, something he didn't want to deal with. Without access to the call logs, the only real suspects OP had were his own parents. However, he didn't find the spy SIM's number in either of their phones when he checked later. This left a single possibility that's also the most likely explanation for the whole thing. Put simply, the spy device was never meant for the OP in the first place. As many on Reddit hypothesized, the bug was likely intended and used for corporate espionage at some point. From there, it somehow found its way into the OP's home. Maybe one of his parents brought it home from work or purchased it in a corporate clearance sale without realizing what it actually was. But by then, the device had already fulfilled its purpose and wasn't being used. Unfortunately, while Redditors were quick to identify and solve what the device was, they weren't able to find a concrete answer for who planted it and why.
So somebody
the last
put a
update from
microphone
the OP was in
in
May of
his
2013. Chances of getting an answer now, over 12 years later,
And he
are
just-
practically zero.
He found it. He couldn't find out who put it in there, and then he gave up. That's crazy.
Of August 9, 2018, 66-year-old Susan Rainwater set out on her usual cycling route in Eaton.
Her last name is Rainwater? That is fire.
But unlike the countless times she'd followed this routine, that day she didn't come home on time. Worried, her husband David Rainwater went out looking for her, only to come face to face with the aftermath of a tragic accident. Just off the side of the road, David discovered the mangled remains of his wife's bicycle. As he got closer, he saw an injured Susan lying on the ground not far from the bike. Sadly, it was already too late. Susan had succumbed to her injuries and passed away before David could get to her.
Come on, bro.
He eventually gathered him
Imagine like trying to find your wife, and then you see her on the ground dead.
to call the police, who
Nobody was hurt, by the way, YouTube.
And her surroundings were able to piece together what had happened. And according to their investigation, this was a classic hit-and-run case. Susan was likely struck from behind by a fast-moving car, resulting in her getting severely injured. However, instead of stopping and helping Susan, the suspect decided to save himself and fled the scene.
See, that's messed up, bro. If you hit somebody while driving, the best thing to do is slow down and try to help them and call 911 and just tell them, "I'm sorry, like I apologize." That's way better than hitting them and running, because they could end up dying. And then when you get caught, you're going to jail for murder. But if you accidentally hit somebody with a car and then you pull over and you help them, they won't take you to jail. They'll just be like, "Okay, you're getting your license taken away because you don't know how to damn drive." Would you rather get your license taken away or your life taken away, buddy? Come on.
CCTV cameras, leading investigators with no leads to follow. The only clue they found on the crime scene was this one piece of black plastic that likely broke off of the suspect's car.
No way they're going to find the suspect from a piece of the car. No way they got a piece of his car and they're going to find him. That's crazy detective work if they do that.
Tried their best, but they weren't able to figure out what this was supposed to be, let alone what car it belonged to. With no other options, one of the troopers at the scene turned to the internet for help, stating, "Troopers and detectives are still looking for a black vehicle believed to be involved in this morning's tragic bicyclist fatality. If you know anything regarding this collision, please call the Washington State Patrol." While this post received little attention on Twitter, someone reposted the query on the What Is This Thing subreddit, where it went viral and received valuable input from hundreds of users. And it didn't take long for Redditors to figure out that this piece came from the car's headlight bezel, as it had the notch used to access the headlight adjusting screws. However, figuring out what car this belonged to was still going to be a tall order. After all, there are dozens of manufacturers with
so many
hundreds of different
cars
models,
out there, bro.
not
There's
to
no
mention
way.
aftermarket parts, which would have been practically impossible to track down. But just when it seemed like all hope was lost, the post reached perhaps the only person capable of identifying the suspect's car model from that tiny broken piece. 2 hours after the original post was made, user Jeff's Nuts dropped a comment that single-handedly brought the search to a close. As it turned out, Jeff was a state inspector in Maryland, where his job was to make sure vehicles were up to code before issuing registration. So he'd seen his fair share of headlight bezels at work. And according to him, the piece police found belonged to a 1988 Chevy Silverado. After spotting the resemblance, users forwarded the information to the investigators, prompting a search for a vehicle that matched this new description. Then, just 5 days later, the state trooper announced what everyone was waiting for. They had located the vehicle that struck Susan and arrested its owner. The man responsible for her death was 37-year-old Jeremy Thomas Simon. He first claimed that he had fallen asleep at the wheel and thought that he'd hit a deer instead of a person. However, his story later changed to where he knew he hit a person, but didn't get out to help because he, quote, did not want to see a body. It was clear he was just making excuses, since authorities also found a small bag of hard drugs in his car, suggesting he may have been under the influence at the time of the crash. In the end, he was sentenced to 4.5 years in prison. Not exactly a harsh penalty.
4 years for killing somebody and driving off, bro? That's baby. Dude, you know how crazy that is that somebody knew what that thing was, like knew what part of the car that was and then found him? Shout out to that guy, bro.
Hit and run,
wow.
But it is better than nothing. Especially considering that if the Reddit user Jeff hadn't identified the make and model of Simon's vehicle and posted his findings to Reddit, there's a good chance he would have gotten away with it entirely.
Yeah, that guy literally saved the crime, bro. That's
In
crazy.
October 2024, someone noticed that one of their electrical outlets in their home looked different from the others. It looked like it had a camera inside, but it wasn't super obvious. So they turned to Reddit and posted photos of the outlet, hoping someone would either confirm or deny their suspicions.
That's a camera.
They also explained their situation further in a comment reading, "I've had a stalker in my apartment broken into in the past. I got a camera detector for peace of mind, not knowing it would read anything, but it led me to this and detected radio waves and it reflected back with the infrared. The bottom ground looks different than the other GFCI plugs in the rest of the complex."
Yep, that's a
right
camera.
away, several people agreed with the OP in that something was definitely off about the outlet.
That's a camera.
Just 40 minutes after the post went up, one user confirmed the OP 100% had a hidden camera in their home by tracking down the exact model for sale online. And according to its product page, it's a wireless camera that could transmit 4K video completely over Wi-Fi. Given the OP's history with a stalker, the same person was likely behind installing the hidden camera as well. Many strongly suggested the OP get out of the house and call the police.
Weird.
Unfortunately, what happened next remains a mystery. The account that made the post was a throwaway the OP created solely for this purpose. And after confirming their suspicions, they never posted any new updates.
Dude, what? So this is apparently a girl who had a stalker. She noticed that there's a camera in her outlet and her house has been broken into before. So she thinks her stalker broke into her house, put that camera in there and has been watching her, bro. Oh my gosh. How do you do that?
In July of 2012, user Delver of Secrets Reddit account made a post in r/askreddit looking for answers on a strange encounter they recently had. It stated, "Today, a homeless looking man handed me $50 and this note. Do any of you have any idea what it means? Dear Reddit, I work in New York City and was dragged into a very curious situation today. I was taking the 1 train from Midtown to the financial district, and as usual, the train was pretty packed. I bumped into a raggedy dressed man as we got on, and he shot me a quick smile. I thought nothing of it until he went to get off at 14th Street, and he handed me a $50 bill along with a note. Before I could even open my mouth to ask him a question, he was gone. Below you find pictures of both the front and back of the note. I've been looking at the note all day, and needless to say, I have no idea what it means. It's handwritten on a 3x3 square piece of paper with no identifying marks and no watermarks. There's a hand-drawn grid, and in a couple of spots, the cells of the grid are combined. The note has random characters written throughout it, and the bottom quarter is filled with random shapes and numbers. Maybe I'm just reading way too far into things, and he was just another crazy New Yorker, but I figured it would be neat to see if anyone has run into this similar situation. Do any of you have any idea as to what the note says, if anything?" After taking a good look at both the note and the $50 bill, some users figured out that the note was what's known as a bifid cipher, and deciphering it revealed a message that read, "There's plenty more money to make. Figure this out and prepare to meet July 19, 56 and 6 hot dog stand outside Rue 57 Cafe. Ask for Mr. Input." However, before anyone had the time to figure out the true meaning behind this note, Delver of Secrets received a coded message on Reddit. It was likely from the same guy that handed him the note earlier that day. When decoded, this message read, "You have managed to find the message with the help of friends. You changed the rules, now so will I. July 12, 4 p.m. Find the Blue Jay at 6.5 and 56 and tell him you are the last.
What?
This was packed with clues pointing in multiple directions. For starters, 6.5 and 56 corresponded to 6.5 Avenue on 56th Street in New York. And at that location, there was a salon named Gotham Skincare. This led many to believe that this whole thing was a marketing stunt for something related to Batman, especially since the date given in the original note, July 19th, was 1 day short of the release date for The Dark Knight Rises.
No.
One person even called the marketing company for that movie in hopes of getting them to admit the truth.
So basically, I was one of the people who got caught up in the whole homeless man give me $50. We had to figure out some sort of code. So after staying up for hours and reading all the comments, I definitely came to the conclusion that this reeks of marketing campaign. And
why would the Batman movie people pay homeless people to give people notes and $50 bills? They would I think it's more likely that they would just pay people to give people $50 bills and then give them like a ticket to the Batman movie. Why would they give them a very hard to decipher note? Like, people aren't going to go out of the way to figure out what this note means. If your whole goal is to give people money and then make them want to see the new Batman movie coming out, why would you make it so hard for them to figure out that the note is about Batman? That just doesn't make sense.
That it's a certain company.
Nope.
Hey guys, what's up? All right, so it's 9:16 here in New York, and I'm about to call Leveraged Marketing Corporation of America. If you look up the address that we're all supposed to meet at later today at 4, this is actually a marketing agency that's right next to it, so it just makes sense that it might be them. And the Dark Knight thing just makes sense too, because the movie's coming out so soon. And hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
I'm calling to make sure that everything is going to be set up for the Dark Knight campaign later today.
What is the Dark Knight campaign? Is it in New York City?
Yeah, it's actually right next to your office. At about 4 o'clock today, actually.
I see. Yes, I know what that is. Please give Margie a call. I'm traveling.
He just admitted to knowing about it. I don't know. You figure it
No.
out.
No.
While this didn't lead to anything substantial, Reddit users found the next clue hidden within the Reddit message. You see, the username that sent the message was 222-0944-379. One user converted this to an IP address, and it led to Fort Huachuca in Arizona, a military base that's primarily focused on intelligence training. So, could it be that Delver of Secrets was being recruited as a spy or something along those lines? For some, this was certainly a possibility. However, another user discovered that a spy exhibition was happening at the nearby Discovery Times Square Museum on July 12th. Maybe this was a marketing stunt for that instead. But this idea was also shot down by another user who claimed to work for the museum, stating that they had nothing to do with this. With no other leads, a group of curious New York-based Redditors decided to meet at the specified location on July 12th to see if anything would actually happen. However, despite dozens of people showing up, including Delver of Secrets, no one noticed anything out of the ordinary and had to go back in disappointment. Now, if this was some legitimate espionage-related matter, a large crowd would have instantly scared off anyone planning to meet Delver of
Right, like if the homeless man was planning to do something crazy and that's why the code said like meet here on July 12th, if the homeless man kind of like saw that there was a big group of people, he wouldn't have shown up.
Location. So the whole thing was kind of pointless in that regard. But on the other hand, the gathering all but confirmed that this wasn't some marketing stunt. Because if it were, the media attention and large crowd would have been the perfect moment for a big reveal that never happened.
Right, if there was a big crowd there, the Batman people would have been like, new Batman movie! Like, it's not the...
That no one saw coming. On July 13th, Delver of Secrets removed everything from his post and replaced it with a single ominous passage reading, "Received a phone call today threatening violence against me and my family, going as far as to name members of my family and their addresses unless I delete this post.
What?
The caller also told me not to show up on the 19th and to inform anyone planning to show up on the 19th that nothing would happen. This will be my last message from this account before I delete it. I'll also be changing my number later today. I am sorry if a resolution to this never happens, but I'm not willing to risk my family's safety for a few extra dollars." With that, Delver of Secrets vanished from the internet. While Reddit did solve layers of coded messages and uncover clues hidden within other clues, they were ultimately left with nothing but speculation and an unsolved mystery.
Are you serious? So this guy got a random note from a random homeless guy. It was in a code. It was coded, all this stuff. And then once the people behind it figured out that a bunch of people were figuring out about this code, he called him. He got a random call from somebody saying, "I know your family. I know where you live. I know your if you don't delete this post and you don't delete this, Like, I'm gonna kill you. That's insane, bro. Imagine getting a random note from a homeless guy and then you get threatened to be killed and, oh my God, dude.